Blynd Submyshynz, where DIY bands submit songs for us to listen and react to blind. Every week, we'll bring a guest from the underground music, arts, or entertainment scene to help you sort through mountains of new music. We go in blind, so you don't have to. Blynd Submyshynz.
Welcome back, everyone, to a very special episode Blynd Submyshynz on your local PBS radio station.
Why is it such a special episode?
It is a special episode because today's guest is one of my favorite people in music. Fantastic engineer, bass player, noisemaker, live engineer, producer.
He does it all.
The most consequential figures in heavy music in the last 30 years is a man named Billy Anderson. Those of you who know Billy, you know what his credits include. Recording Sleep's Holy Mountain, early High on Fire, the Melvins, Acid King, Mr. Bungle. But he has worked continuously from the late 80s through now, still recording underground heavy bands and really pioneering techniques in capturing extreme and heavy music on tape or now digitally, or both in some cases, because Billy is not afraid to use any and all the tools available to him. I got to spend a week in the studio with Billy in early 2018 when we recorded our last record. And it was a hilarious and fascinating and incredible week. And we've been sort of waiting to bring him on, but I think now is the right time. And so really, without any further ado, because Billy is much more interesting than...
We're going to do this thing?
Yeah, we're going to do this thing. Much more interesting than either of us. Again.
We could talk about my haircut.
JD got a haircut.
I got a haircut.
It's very shiny on
It's very shiny on top. I had to turn down the ring light.
It's looking good. And stick around, listen all the way through, assholes.
Please.
But we're going to announce in the merch table segment our first little
first contest.
Well, it's a giveaway. There will be hoops you have to jump through. We'll figure those out.
Major
but a little bit of a giveaway. So, hey.
Yeah.
Who said we never did anything?
Why are we doing a giveaway just because we're good
dudes?
We'll
talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
Because we're fucking stupid.
Because we're good dudes.
Yeah, that's why. It's altruism. All right, here we go. Welcome aboard. One Mr., as it says on his screen, William Anderson.
Always going to play us a tune.
Mr. Anderson. I assume you get that frequently.
Yeah, and I didn't see Matrix until like a few years after it came out, and I wondered why the hell people were like coming up to me and saying that shit.
Yeah, it features pretty heavily in the movie, so it's kind of unavoidable.
Yeah, I discovered that when I finally saw it, but
yeah, it's like naming
disconcerting until then.
Yeah, it's like naming your daughter Stella. Anyone old enough to have seen A Streetcar Named Desire Stella! Always goes Stella, and for her whole childhood she didn't know why grown-ups yelled at her constantly.
Wait, people that were alive to know what Streetcar Named Desire is?
Mostly my parents and stuff.
Parents' generation.
Not me. For sure not me. Definitely not you, right?
No. I mean, my mom talks about it sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
She thought it was a streetcar named Bob.
I've met that one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Desire, Bob.
Desiree. It's Desiree. She's a stripper.
So what was that guitar? I love being inside people's studios.
Oh man, if you could only see in here. That's a Dean, what's it called? Tyrant. Dean Tyrant. Okay. I collect the V's, man. I like the V's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you just listening and not watching, Billy's got, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 guitars or basses somewhere in the background. I assume there are more.
Yeah, tons more. I like the V's because you don't need a stand.
That's true. I never really thought about that.
I mean, like I play a jazz bass. I don't think I could play a V bass.
No, that would be weird.
They're huge, and you can't walk through a doorway. But I like the V's because you don't need to stand, but they look cool. They fucking look cool.
I think they look great. Carl demonstrated the key V advantage of being able to rest it like on your leg and do sweet rock star moves. I didn't realize there was like, it enabled new rocking styles. And
they're balanced. You can like let go of it and it doesn't fall to one side like an SG or, you know, something like that would. Because they're, you know, they're weighted, and the Dean ones, the Dean ones have the V at the top too. So
yeah, that like, big headstock.
Yeah, so it's like a ninja star if you have to throw it.
Take somebody's eyes out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a jazz bass guy too, and I have tried everything under the sun, and I finally just said, you know what, I play jazz basses, so I'm just going to stop even screwing around with other stuff.
Yeah, there's no reason to go past a jazz bass, right?
I don't think so. No.
I mean, I've had this one, I don't know, since 2003 or so. Ironically, so I play bass in High Tone, Son of a Bitch, and I mixed their second EP, and they didn't have any money. So the bass player at the time paid me by giving me a bass, and that's that jazz bass. And that's the bass I play in the band now. So
oh, wow.
It's a cool little story.
We'll give you a bass and make you part of the band if you record us.
Interesting.
But you know, like 18 years later.
Yeah, 18 years later.
Or, you know, 16 years later.
So I've seen lots of pictures of you recording various folks over the last 9 or 10 months. Mostly, it looks like at Hallowed Halls in Portland. So what have you been up to?
I've been doing a lot of Matt Pike.
I have seen that as well. We interviewed Alyssa a couple weeks ago. That was rad.
She probably filled you in on
a little bit
her end. I mean, it's kind of insane. I mean, I'm obviously doing other stuff, but that's been a pretty main thing just because we're neighbors. Kind of like he lives, I don't know, a couple miles from me, and I have my studio here in my house, and you know, there'll be times when he'll just be like, dude, I need to do a vocal, and I'll just, if I'm free, I'll be like, come on over, you know. And so it's, you know, it's like it happens a couple times a week usually, and we'll do these
that'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll do sessions in chunks though with drums, because I can't do drums here at my place, so we do basic tracks at Hallowed Halls.
Yeah,
which is like the nicest recording room you've ever been in.
Yeah, I've heard good stories, and hopefully that place I hope things get sorted out. Sounds like maybe it's in jeopardy.
Me too. There's some crazy shit going on right now, but yeah, I think it's going to get sorted out. They're able to get a lawyer situation going on and fight the powers, you know. But yeah, it's a great place to record, and there's not a lot of public studios here in Portland anymore. Like there was a couple places I used to record that have shut down, and Hallowed Halls it happens to be an amazing studio, but it's about it as far as like, you know, non-private studios. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah,
I know of.
Only in Portland can Matt Pike ring you up and go, hey man, I need to record some vocals.
Dude,
wander over to your house.
He comes over for non-music related stuff too. He'll just come over just to shoot the shit and, you know, do whippets or whatever.
Shh. He doesn't do whippets.
I mean, we make pastries, and we need the whipped cream.
Yeah, you need the whipped cream.
Look, I worked at Baskin Robbins when I was in high school when we had the refillable whipped cream containers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
how was that?
Oh,
it was good times.
I mean, am I admitting to anything? Yeah. No, am I admitting to anything if I say that one of the greatest physical experiences of my life was doing whippets inside of a deep freezer?
Oh, dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can imagine.
There's certain situations where doing a whippet at the right moment is really cool.
Yeah, no, that was great. It's like 40 degrees below zero in that walk-in freezer, and like your skin immediately goes like super sensitive.
Yeah,
you're in this crazy cold air. Oh, we had fun.
And so your brain thinks it's oxygen. You're basically your brain thinks you're gonna die for like 5 seconds.
Yep.
And it puts you into this like dying mode, and you see God sometimes.
Pretty fun. The first time I did that actually was at band practice.
Oh yeah,
friend brought it in. I'd never tried it before, and band's ready. They're all set up. I'm ready to sing. They give me a whippet. Nope, not singing for a bit. I was laying on the floor laughing my head off.
Yeah, I've actually done vocal sessions where whippets were actually a big component in the
one of the tools.
Yeah. I mean, we have pitch shifters, but it's a different quality. way different quality.
Another one of the tools of the trade, huh?
Yeah. No secret.
And then also 8 Bells I saw.
Yeah, just finished 8 Bells. That just got approved. The mastering just got approved for that by myself and the band. And
because they're on that's going out on Prophecy, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's good.
That's gonna be good, man. It's every record for them has been a step up, and this one's fucking deluxe, man. It's like it sounds beautiful and just dark and awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting.
Epic.
Hoping
nice.
for.
Yeah. What else? I got the Pike thing going on. Been in the middle of a Leviathan record for over a year. It's a thing with working with Jeff. It's we're also neighbors. He lives actually right by Matt. He never leaves his house, as most of us don't these days. I keep saying quarantine wasn't really a stretch for me. Like, I'm in this fucking studio, like, all the time anyway. But yeah, Jeff, he has a daughter that he takes care of mostly, and he has to be inspired, and he's going through some shit right now, and so we're kind of on and off, but we've been doing that for over a year, and it's going to be an amazing album. It's just a weight, which is kind of his style,
Yeah.
But that thing's going to be amazing. It's more epic than the last one, and yeah, it's going to be awesome. We just have to finish it. We're almost there. We just have to do vocals, but I think we're there with guitars.
Wow.
But it's been
You've been working on it for a year?
Over a year, yeah.
Wow.
Actually, we started it in August, a year ago, August. So like almost a year and a half.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine, like, there's what's happening now, and then there's what's being written now that's going to come across your path next year. I got to imagine there's some epic shit being composed in 2020.
Oh yeah,
dude. Just since like quarantine was imposed up here, like I have a hard drive that's dedicated just to quarantine projects, which there's been a lot of. Like, I mean, I've helped people build home studios, and I've started collaborating with a number of people. I've started a band or two.
Remote bands.
Yeah, I mean, Uta, formerly Witch Mountain, started a band. We started like right after quarantine started doing some covers. We did a few covers just for the hell of it, just for something to do. She lives right by me too, and she's pretty quarantined. She does yoga instruction via Skype, and so she's always at home, and so there's no worry of like we're never ever in public ever
mixing with other people.
Yeah. So she comes over once a week, and we started doing covers. We did a few covers that were really cool. We did like her choice, "What a Fool Believes" by the Doobie Brothers. I'll send it. It's I mean, I don't like that song necessarily, but the way we did it's really cool. And we did a couple other ones, and we decided to make a band out of it.
All right.
We've been collaborating musically for years, just with Witch Mountain and otherwise, and we decided to do a band. So I started writing originals. So I'll do all the music, and she'll come over and do vocals,
just
and
sing.
Slays. And we've got like 4 or 5 songs now, and we're wondering what we're gonna do with it. But it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of like ingenuity and creativity forced on folks. Like, 6 months ago, I didn't have mics and an interface and any idea of how to produce a podcast.
Yeah,
but
it's
here
been going
I am.
on a lot. It's been going on a lot. Like I've gone over to select people's houses and like help them set up their podcast thing or their little interface, whatever, so they can record stuff, because people are basically just sitting around.
Yeah.
It's a little different now, but like for the first few months, it was like people were just sitting there twiddling thumbs and trotting out their cookie recipes and shit.
Sourdough bread.
Tired of making bread.
Sourdough bread.
Well, and there's so much overlap between the like underground music community and the service industry that these people, a lot of people lost all the jobs they have.
Yeah.
And we're just like, all right. Here we go.
I mean, I suffered a slowdown for a while. Like, then unemployment checks came through and people started having money again.
Let's go record.
When you're worried about dying, like recording doesn't seem so important, for obvious reasons. But like, when those checks started coming through, man, I started working again a lot. And, it's mostly by remote, like people send me shit to mix, or, have like one person come over, or, I've been doing stuff at Howlett Halls, but they're really stringent with their masking policies, and they have, everybody sign in and out, and everybody's tested regularly. And so that's a safe environment.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's good.
But, beside that, I've just been doing stuff here, and yeah, man, people need things to do. And I think fear and being unsure of the future brings out some good qualities in artists. It brings out some shit qualities in people in general, but
yeah,
as we've seen, but in musicians, it brings out like really creative stuff, and there's a lot of cool shit going on. I'm waiting for this to be over so I can try to catch the flood of stuff that happens.
Seriously, it's almost like find some space where you can set up a drum studio on your own too, so that you can just be self-sufficient.
Yeah, I mean, I do drums here, like just me. Like I have a little electronic setup, but I really need a big room where I can do live drums, and then it would probably suck because I'd never leave the house.
Yeah,
you'd really be quarantined.
That's the problem. That like, I don't know if you've been following there's a guy named Jordan Olds who has a YouTube channel called 2 Minutes to Late Night, and he does like a comedy show at St. Vitus.
Right.
But he's also a musician, and the house band for his comedy show is Mutoid Man. And even before quarantine, that he was cranking out covers with various people. Well, every single week since the beginning of quarantine, he's dropped a remotely tracked cover, pulling together artists from all over the place. The craziest one that just hit 1 million views was Les Claypool. Who all is in it? It's a cover of Rush Anthem, and the singer from Coheed and Cambria.
Oh yeah, that one.
I think maybe Bill from Mastodon.
Yeah, somebody from Mastodon.
I saw something like that. Yeah, I saw something like that.
Yeah, and on the one hand, it's like shocking the quality of recording that you can get doing those remote sessions when everybody's got kind of different capabilities and setups and expertise. But the one thing I've noticed is that the drums are almost always lacking. So unless the drummer has like a really brilliant set, they even got fucking Max Weinberg to play a Misfits song. Yeah, but Max played on an electronic kit, and a lot of times they're electronic kits, and it's like that's the one thing that you really feel missing in those recordings. Is properly recorded
it's
drums.
Hard to like mic up a drum kit and have the space to do it.
Yeah.
Like if you have a drum kit and the space, maybe you don't have the mics or the expertise to make it sound, coherent or whatever. Like, and to be honest, man, and I was a drummer before I was anything in music, so I can say this, but the drum should always have a B on the end of it.
Like, a B?
I'm just kidding.
Like dumb.
Sorry, drummers. Hey,
every drummer I know knows this joke because I say it all the time. But like,
at least you're not taking shots at bass players. That's what I'm used to.
Dude, I feel like I can take shots at everybody because I played everything. But,
I play it all. Yeah, no,
I've done it all.
I think it's fair.
No, if drummers have a lot to think about, separating all 4 of your limbs, and like, it's like having like a 20-string guitar,
yeah,
to play.
I can't even.
They're not good at other things.
Yeah, it's so hard the mastery of drums to me in rock music, at least, is the single most difficult skill.
Yeah,
that's why there are so few. Yeah,
to be a really good, tasteful, like shredding drummer, it's an amazing thing that I still can't 30 plus years of doing this wrap my head around.
Yeah,
I've tried and I can't. I can play. I play drums on a lot of this stuff that me and Uta are doing, and whether electronically or on somebody's kit, and it's like I can play for a second or for like a minute until I screw up, and then I'll just loop stuff or whatever. But like, man, it's amazing skill that not a lot of drummers are very special people. Let me just say that.
Yeah, that's why they're so hard to find.
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of music shit on YouTube. I'll watch some live videos, but I will watch just like a drum cam video from live performance or in the studio like all day. And just marvel at if they have a multicam setup like that Tool Numa drum cam video, finally the first good footage of Danny playing live from multiple angles, and it's just like
I've watched that so many times, and that guy is just an alien, dude. He's like Ed Van Halen on drum.
Yeah, he's an absolute alien.
Like I wish I had that. I wish I had a drum cam going for Whitehead in those Leviathan sessions, because Jesus Christ, man, that guy, like, very underrated as a drummer. I mean, he plays everything. You know, there's no note on that album so far that's been played by anybody but him. But like on drums, he's not even hearing like a scratch guitar. He'll often have a click track, often not, but he'll just play. He'll be playing, hearing the song in his head, and just tearing it up like better than 99% of drummers on earth to me. And I know a lot of drummers, but
yeah,
Jeff's a special guy.
With a few.
I wish I was able to talk him into doing a drum cam, because it would be a glorious thing to watch.
Yeah,
it's shredding drummer.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, and my favorite was watching like professional drummers react to that video, because I swear I watched like 10 videos, and on 8 of them, right from the very beginning, they're like, "Wait, where's the one?" I'm like, look, you're the fucking drummer.
Don't even try.
You're supposed to know that.
He's on some Fibonacci like fucking calculus shit.
Yeah.
He knows where it is. His soul knows where it is.
Yeah. He can find the one.
So non-music related, because I know other things that you're interested in. Have you dug into yet this article about these fucking cave paintings in Brazil?
A little bit. A little bit. I'm still waiting. Like, they look, I don't know, to me, in my experience, they look a little fresh for being outdoors. You know what I mean? Like, most of the cave paintings that are, a mile deep underground have deteriorated way more than paintings in the rainforest. Or where there's weather. They look a little fresh to me. I don't know how, like, I haven't been there obviously, but like, I don't know. I'm waiting to hear more about them, but it's a newer discovery, and
I think we might need a little backstory here, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Billy's way deep into all of the kind of the history of all of the ancient cave paintings that have been discovered all over the world. It's just sort of a side hobby. So, talk a little bit about what got you into it, and what's the fascination about.
Well, when I was in college, I did college for anthropology.
Wow.
I didn't go full on masters, and I would be working in a museum rather than talking to you guys or whatever. But that was a major focus when I was in school, was cave paintings and the reasons that they were there, and the cultural significance of them. And I've been lifelong fascinated by why people would risk their lives by carrying a torch, that if the torch burned out, you're just dead. You're dead, because you're a mile or half mile underground, like crawling on your belly to get into bigger chambers. Like, why people would do that,
that's crazy.
And a lot of them, like, there's some that are like amazingly what's a good analogy? Like, Picasso saw the ones at Lascaux and said, quote, "We know nothing about art." Like, there's perspective and shading, and like, we're talking 25,000 years ago.
That's nuts.
Like, just as we were, more or less barely modern humans, and like, why were there? They weren't generally animals they were eating, so it might have been for some, but it wasn't necessarily a hunting fetish or like, this is the animals we're hunting. It was a lot of times animals they weren't eating, and they weren't living in those caves either. They were just going there to paint. And that could be said across the board. Like, they were living in other places. They find hearths in other caves, but no paintings.
That's interesting.
They find paintings only in specific caves where they weren't living. And there were also bears living in those caves. So
in the same cave.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
So
not only if you're... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, if were cave paintings, I mean, was it art of the day, or was it sort of pre-alphabet historical writings,
like storytelling?
Yeah,
I think kind of both.
A little bit of both.
Both. And also like ritual. There's really no way we can tell. We can only theorize, but picture going into a cave where you're scared and you might not be able to breathe so well, and you don't know how you're going to get out, and you're seeing, like, picture being in a cave, you have a torch and there's shadows that get cast, and like, maybe you're a shaman and you've eaten some kind of mushroom.
Yeah.
you know, or not, you know, and you're doing some ritual, and things get a little trippy, you know. Like, I don't know if you guys have been in caves before. I haven't been in any of the ones that are historically painted, but I've been in caves, and it's like a trippy place to be. And even the sound, which we have no record of. We have no record of the sound, but you can be in those caves and clap your hands or say something, and it echoes. And so it would be like a sacred space, kind of like a cathedral.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you can, you know, with fire, you could conjure some phantoms, and then you can make weird sounds that you can't make otherwise. So it becomes a good spot for ritual. I came across it because I was researching schizophrenia and autism spectrum disorders, and I came across this book called The Madness of Adam and Eve.
Okay.
That sort of theorized that schizophrenia and autism spectrum disorders arise as part of the brain's attempt to evolve, kind of going haywire, right? So like, yeah, and it's like, you know, in families where you've seen great advancements in art or science, there have been cases of relatives who were like deeply disturbed, but then their brother or their cousin or whatever got just enough of it so that they could make some leap in thought. So kind of like the same thing that you get out of, you know, the mushrooms or the weed or what, you know, whatever it is, to take the brain to a new place, to do something new. And it started when someone looked at those cave paintings in France. The start of the book is about the cave paintings in France and this tremendous leap in like the quality of the art.
Yeah. Right around that time was when, you know, there was a huge leap. Like before that time, and we're talking about the Ice Age in Europe, where those, you know, where most of the paintings were found. There were paintings going on in other parts of the world at that time, like Indonesia and Australia. But in Europe, it was covered in ice. And so there was really no other place to be but in a cave. Like, but again, they were living in different caves. They weren't painting in the same caves they were living in.
They're living in.
So that tells you something right there.
I think it was just
they were sacred spaces.
They were like ritual spaces.
They were sacred spaces.
But interesting. So it was almost like their churches. In a way.
Yeah, something like that. Like it could have been like a totem thing, because you find certain animals exclusively in certain caves, with an exception here and there, or, you know, it might have been just the local animals that were around that area. But in Europe, generally, it was like there were probably paintings everywhere, but the ones that survived were in caves. Yeah, you know, because they're not rained on every day. Yeah, which makes me a little bit wary of the ones they just found, because they've been outdoors for
they're like out in the open
5,000 years, and they're
really
fresh looking.
I think they dated them at about 12,000 years. They think so far. There's some unusual stuff though. Like there's some paintings 50 feet up on these cliffs that that based on what's around them now would have been very difficult to reach, but it's hard to make guesses about. Yeah. You know, how they pulled it off. But no, I mean, think of a church, a community gathering space, as, you know, as nomadic tribes sort of interacted with each other. You could maybe have a neutral spot where people could get together and share stories, or that's not, I don't want to bring you to my house. So it's, you know, it was pre-religion, pre-community, it's like the foundations of human society.
So guess if you have a cave you want us to look into, submit it. We're now doing archaeological or anthropological submissions.
And here's the kicker for you that is, I guess, a fairly recent discovery. You know, at least probably 15 years old, but that's recent in archaeo terms. But like, they found that by you know, the negative handprints, they found that by testing and measuring those, that a large majority of the people doing the paintings were women and children.
Yes.
How interesting.
Yeah, smaller people.
And they've actually found, like, not fossilized, but footprints that were made in clay of just people getting into the caves that are preserved because they're in caves. And they've been able to discern the same thing. Like, there were largely women and children making the paintings.
Well, yeah. Well, here. I mean, here's another look. I don't know anything here, but we've all been in quarantine for 10 months. What the fuck do you do all day if you don't have a TV or an iPad or a phone and dad's out, you know, killing a saber-toothed tiger? Mom's like, fucking go paint on the wall, goddamn it. Like, leave me alone.
Paint on the wall.
That's the first inference, is that, like, you know, people that had a little more time on their hands. I mean, it's not that women weren't doing anything or children weren't doing anything, but, you know, men tended to be out wrestling, bison or whatever, and or dying, dying doing so. But it's not that they were doing nothing, but maybe they were looking around for stuff to gather, and they stumble upon these caves, and I don't know. Nobody knows why it was largely women and children, but they can tell by the shape and of the hands and stuff. They
So
were
interesting.
I'm building a whole Saturday Night Live bit in my head right now. That's like, I don't want to paint another bear. Paint another goddamn bear. The last one took me an hour. So what? I'm losing my mind over here.
Yeah.
I think they just didn't have magic erasers back then.
Yeah.
They had magic something though.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, like a lot of the simple cave paintings, and even Neanderthals were making cave paintings. They can tell that by dating, like European cave paintings before modern humans were even in the area. Neanderthals were making paintings, and a lot of them were geometric shapes, like stuff that you see when you're tripping.
Oh yeah.
Like patterns of dots, like blocks of dots or like zigzags that may have meant something to them in a primitive way, but it's stuff you see when you're tripping balls.
Yeah, well, think about it. In the natural world, unless you have a microscope, there are no straight lines.
Yeah, and a lot of the paintings have squares. There's no squares in nature.
There's very rarely you might trip over a square rock, but like you got to be in a
square-ish,
a different frame of mind.
Like crystals and stuff, some are square, but there's generally no like spiral. I mean, you see like conch shells and stuff, but there's patterns that definitely were inspired by being in another headspace, let's say.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's funny too, because when you think about kind of the lyrical or topical fixations of heavy music, I would put everything from ancient life, tripping balls, weird geometry, as prevalent as outer space and magic, and there's like all the different, because not much of there's plenty of heavy music. So this is another divide between punk and hardcore, and metal to me is punk and hardcore for the most part was very much about the here and now and about people and about feelings and about events. And metal has always much more historically been fantasy world shit.
The past, the future.
All different all different variations of fantasy world, but it's not a ton of metal that was just starting to come out, right? A band like Power Trip to me was that perfect mesh of the metal attitude in the music, but then kind of a really punk rock attitude lyrically and topically.
Yeah, it evolved. But first metal was like dragons and and such, historical, medieval, whether factually historical or not, like it's evolved to be a jumble of things now, and I think that's a good thing, a natural progression. But like I think so too. Definitely is more in the moment.
Yeah. And I think all of those things have sort of come together, because it's like the will to create a 12-minute long song or a 55-minute long song or a 80+ minute long song comes from somewhere else. Not typically like the hard work ethic of working the land or some shit like that. It's like you're high as fuck, or you're
being really angry about living in the suburbs with your parents.
Well, in anthropology, that's an argument for why art evolved in the first place in this period we're talking about, is because people had more time on their hands, not only because they were frozen out of doing much of anything else but surviving, but they had more time on their hands, so modern humans with more advanced technology, let's say, could more easily kill game and gather things to eat, and so they had a little more idle time on their hands, and sitting around and chatting in groups and being around a fire and tripping or whatever else they were doing. They had a little more time to do things, but Neanderthals had a little less time on their hands because their technology wasn't as advanced. And that's why we see less art and music and things coming out of them. Like, they've never found a musical instrument made by a Neanderthal as far as we know, but they found musical instruments that are 25, 30,000 years old, made from bird bones, like flutes, that were made by modern humans when they first arrived on the scene in Europe, and they were obviously having a little idle time on their hands.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And you know, speaking of technology, like to think about what can be considered technology, I think researchers have decided that one of the biggest advancements in terms of saving human beings time, giving people time back so that they could do art or whatever else, was not just the discovery of fire, but then fire allowing people to cook food. Because in pre-fire, you had to spend hours chewing your
Yeah.
and you can't really do shit else while you're chewing your food.
Yeah. And when you're eating like raw meat, you don't have a lot of time because you're not going to live as long.
Yeah.
You know?
Probably.
Yeah. Like the hearth concept is definitely a big factor in evolution. And, you know, humans becoming, I guess, what you'd call smarter, or, you know, having art and literature and so forth, the gathering around the fire whilst cooking and cooking in general, like heating, you know, making food basically. Like imagine, you know, before they figured out how to pound grains into flour, you know, just groups of women just pounding grains into flour, like for hours at a time, like the talk that goes on. And, you know, it became a huge factor in communication, language, complexity of language. And, you know, it became part of the physical evolution of our throat shapes and bones in your throat.
That's so crazy.
To make more complex sounds with your mouth and your face.
Wow.
Oh, I'm having really annoying technical problems. The audio engine keeps dropping out in the DAW. That's great. So we might be using the Zoom audio for this one. Maybe it's time to move away from Cakewalk finally.
Jeez Louise.
Free DAW. Get what you pay for.
Are you guys on Windows?
Yeah, that's probably going to change soon too.
Dude, hit Reaper, man. Reaper's the shit for Windows.
Yeah, I think I'll probably have to do that. Now it won't record anything.
That's great.
Fucking great. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I can capture enough of this and stitch it back together and insert the Zoom in between the dead spots, or if we're just going to have to use the Zoom audio. We always have a backup, so it's not the end of the world. Yeah. It just sounds better because Zoom is like so aggressive with compression and noise canceling and everything else. Oh shit. If we do have to do it with Zoom though, I might actually end up using that professional audio feature, because I can turn off the noise canceling. Because the main issue is when I play the music through Zoom, it tries to smash it and compress it. But they actually made a setting now so that you can turn all that shit off. So if you want to play your acoustic guitar on a Zoom session, it'll just be the natural live audio, not their processed audio.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know that much about like that world of settings and stuff, but I've been told the same thing. Like it just smashes your audio.
And that's why all of these like live Zoom shows, people have figured out like, hey, this sounds like shit. Can you do something about it? And it's just because they're aggressively processing the audio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're compensating for people who know absolutely nothing and have like their laptop computer mic, and you know they're trying to help, but it destroys anything musical or. You know,
yeah. I mean, it's a business tool.
That's on a pro mic. I'm recording my mic, you know, by itself, by the way. So that's
good. So your audio will be fantastic.
Wonderful.
Well,
actually, since I'm going to do it this way, then I'm just going to share the computer audio through Zoom, and we'll just because it'll record better.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some Longmont Potion Castles type like effects on mine.
Oh, good. Then make it super weird, please.
That'd be awesome. Let's do it.
You're welcome.
Good. That's so kind of you.
Ding, ding.
No problem. No problem.
All right. So this is not the time to be figuring this out, but that's fine.
High fidelity music.
Music.
There you go.
Shit
All
happens.
right. Yeah, shit does happen a lot. So what was I going to say?
I don't know.
So we have some songs to listen to.
We do.
So I don't know if you've read too much or if I bug you too much about the premise, but people will actually just submit music to us.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten hundreds of submissions, and they know we're just going to pull stuff randomly out of email and press play without ever listening to it ahead of time, and then give honest reactions. goes in whatever direction you want, from holy shit, that's the worst thing I've ever heard, to hey,
here's some helpful tips.
Nice try, guys. Here's some thoughts, to everything in between. We've certainly had.
We also sometimes get blown away.
Yeah, and we have
something new that's amazing.
Yeah, and we have been blown away multiple times. So we have.
I want to see the one with Alyssa, because she has no holds barred policy.
No,
she was great, actually.
She was very nice. I think she was worried about being mean.
Yeah.
And so she was nice, which,
I mean, she also loves a lot of stuff, but like,
yeah,
I've known her to be like, not opinionated necessarily, but just like doesn't give a fuck, like, about saying what she thinks.
Yeah,
this is generally a good policy.
She was
Tax
honest,
is
but
also
she was
important, but
still very nice.
yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah,
she's like, we've all been there. We've all been in shitty bands and made shitty recordings.
Yeah,
oh, dude, I've made a life out of it.
Zing. Yeah, Billy's always good. Billy's always good for that. You'll always get the self-effacing zing. All right, so and normally we do like 6 submissions, but after I only pulled 3, because we use Bandcamp as much as possible, just because it's so artist friendly. They do such a good job of actually fairly compensating people that use the platform. So we're just trying to encourage everyone to use them. And they do a lot of music curation now, and a lot of writing about music, and a lot of writing about global music. So they've definitely got some.
Do you think they have ethnomusicologists on staff?
Ethnomusicologists on staff, or so it would seem.
We've never mentioned that before.
At the end of the year, they also publish a bunch of year-end lists, and they published a very interesting year-end list this week that I think is very appropriate for this group, which is, they basically said, 2020 was a heavy year, and it produced a lot of heavy music. So here are some of the heaviest things we found, and they don't just,
which was made in 2019.
Probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Uninfluenced in any way by the year.
and their interpretation of heavy was heavy music, but also heavy content,
heavy lyrics.
So it's not just all metal. So I figured we would go through a few of those and give them a heavy or a not heavy.
Okay. Just to listen very carefully.
Just out of curiosity.
Heavy or not heavy?
If you want, we invent conventions for episodes, and then we abandon them immediately or forget them because we're old and stupid. So yeah, for today it's heavy or not heavy.
Okay.
All right, and I'm going to share
this. His head.
I'm going to share the screen, so that
he lives,
so that you can actually see as we kind of tool around on Bandcamp. You'll actually be able to see what we're looking at.
All right.
Which is nice, because then you can see what we're seeing.
Yes.
All right. Share screen. That one. Share. All right. So now
you share sound.
Nope.
No. Okay.
So now you can see my little screen there, right?
I can see.
I can see all 20 of us. I can see you guys and me and your screen.
I know. All right. So the
put
first
dick pics up. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah. You too, man. Jesus.
Oh, dude.
All right. So the first submission for today is a band called Moon Breath.
Ooh. It's like moon tooth? Sort of. Just, it's when you don't brush your moon tooth, you get moon breath.
Yeah, what's moon breath?
Oh, that fucking sucked.
Like, your breath is 240,000 miles away, or what's moon breath?
Is that an Adam Burke painting?
It looks like an Adam Burke.
Kind of looks like it.
That art is cool.
Yeah, so that's their art. This album, this EP is called Exaltations. It was just released, and I think they implied that it was actually kind of done during quarantine. And actually there have been a ton of submissions that were recorded during the quar. So
yeah. Where are they from?
They are
Indiana.
from Indiana.
That's going to be heavy.
Rising.
A lot of cool stuff comes out of places like Indiana, because they've got shit else to do, especially now.
They're angry and they got nothing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a small town, and some of my favorite music comes from small, places that aren't expected.
Totally,
for sure.
That have no scene really. Let's hear it.
All right, let's hear it. The song is called Exaltations.
bass is really aggressive.
Yeah.
It's super out of tune.
Yeah.
I mean, they're using choruses and stuff like that, but it's really intonated horribly.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
That was my first. Like I wanted to reach in and tune the bass or the guitar.
Like, and what we always struggle with in situations like that is like, what's intention and what's just not knowing what you're doing.
I don't think that was intended.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe.
Again, like we're talking about, if it was in quarantine, maybe they did it themselves and didn't have, like, I mean, if you're playing in a band, you should know how to tune an instrument, but like maybe they didn't have somebody,
with an
maybe they were
ear
more focused on how to get it recorded than tuning. I don't know.
Let's scoot. I want to scoot a little bit out of the intro and see what we get. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm getting definite like first project, first time trying to record something, first time trying to write, pull a composition together. There's, in the writing, there are elements that are advanced, and then there's stuff that if you play, you recognize as being like very basic, like beginner filler.
It sounds pretty beginner, like musicianship wise to me as well.
Yeah.
It also feels like I hear stuff like people couldn't hear each other, like the guitar's rushing and really direct sounding, like it sounds like it's going straight into the board or whatever, or into the interface.
Yeah, the mix is weird. The drums are super low,
and everybody's
stuff
off
is high.
of each other. Like they
kind
couldn't
of
hear each other when they were playing.
It sounded like they were trying to play the same song, but like
time, like it's a monitoring thing, but I can hear that in most recordings. Like I can hear when the singer was too loud because they're ahead of the beat, there's some of that going on. It sounds like they're a beginning band though.
Trying. It sounds like it could be cool.
Well,
it could be cool.
Here's the
tighten it up a lot.
Here's the thing that comes up all the time though. So do you think, and I love getting different people's opinions on this, do you think, say in 5 years, this is like the greatest genre blending metal band of all time? There's harm to have recorded this and put it on Bandcamp, or do you think it's fine?
I think it's fine. I mean, everybody has a history.
Yeah.
You take one of your favorite bands, like, take Mr. Bungle, listen to their, I mean, you can see it on YouTube, their high school talent show.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's total crap, I mean, knowing them now, like you can see where they came from. And it's like, everybody has to come from somewhere, nobody like woke up or came out of the womb a shredder,
Yeah. It's just such a weird time because you can actually like record, make art, put it out on a global platform without anyone's permission. And so you get this really crazy wide range of stuff on Bandcamp. I think it's cool too.
I mean, good on you for getting it up there.
Yeah.
Absolutely good artwork
further than a lot of bands do.
Kind of a cool name. Like I would make it one word personally. Moonbreath.
I think it is actually in where it's typed.
Who did their logo is messed up.
Yeah. Invest some time in practicing your instruments and learning your way around the studio.
Tighten it up.
What would suck is if we found out they were later like in their 40s.
Hey, I don't care how old they are. Even
and they've been playing like forever.
This is their 8th album.
Yeah. If you guys are 50, this is
huge in like Slovenia.
And congrats on doing what you love, but
hey man, keep it up.
When did this come out?
This year, just in October. And I mean, and a platform like Bandcamp really does blur the lines between a professional artist and a home hobby musician, because you can make yourself look like a professional outfit easily. Yeah.
I've been talking to Melinda from 8 Bells about that. She works for CD Baby, and she has to, deal with people that are making their midlife crisis project,
Hey, what's wrong with that?
Also larger people, larger stars or whatever. She gets the whole spectrum. And I don't know, we talk about that a lot. Like it's so cool that anybody can make, a record and quote unquote, and put it up on Bandcamp. And I think it's a cool thing. As always, the public knows what they like, and people like sometimes what other people like or what they're told to like, but at least you can get it out there.
Yeah, at least it's there, and
completely
it's there.
They got,
it was harder 20 years ago to get it out there because you had to play a show.
God.
And just
exactly,
and
you
just
had to play
like
a show.
put ads in the back of zines.
Yeah, and having the sheer
tape,
physical ads.
Yeah,
and you had to have like good gear. Now you can buy an interface, and any guy could make anything at home and put it up on Bandcamp, and you know within 5 seconds whether it's good or not, or whether you like it or not. But at least you can do it. At least you can do.
You can get mastering plugins for free that would fool 95% of the listening audience.
You can have something auto mastered by a bot, and it isn't bad.
Yeah, you would know.
I've experimented with those kinds of things, and it's not bad. I mean, they haven't got it down yet, but nothing will replace the feel of somebody actually mastering it.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, when I was in high school, my band recorded, I think we paid like $1,000 to have a record mastered.
Wow.
In 1990. We probably got ripped off, but whatever. Now you can have a bot do it for $5 a song or something, and it's gonna sound way better than the mastering job that we paid for. 30 years ago.
Things were more expensive back then. Like I remember studio time was considerably more back in the times you're talking about. Like I remember paying $1,800 a day for a studio.
And
you get now for $300.
Yeah, and there were it was obviously the money was much more centralized, and people were used to getting paid because the labels were paying big money for that stuff. And now it's like there's millions of studios, and so
there are millions of labels too, but not a lot
of labels.
Major labels have bowed out of alternative music, or the stuff that I would work on, more or less across the board.
Yeah,
there have been flurries. The grunge being one of them, and so forth. But like, there's so many labels. Like, you could be a label, I could be a label, just from Bandcamp alone. Like, I can just put that I'm a label, and I'm a label.
Yeah,
I may or may not have done that.
I may or may not be a label.
Well, no, and it was funny when we had Christian from Whores on a couple weeks ago. Whores is on E1 Heavy, the same label that High on Fire is on. That's a really interesting major label that's like taking a keen interest in pretty fringe heavy band. Lord Dying's on there. I mean, it's like, who's the guy?
Awesome.
Yeah, who's the guy at the top of that heavy music mountain going like?
Yeah, it's like a couple of guys. It's like Scion was for a while. Scion was pimping everybody. It was like a couple of guys at that company that liked heavy music, and they were giving direct or routing money towards heavy music for a while. They got shut down after a bit, but it's kind of a similar situation from what I know.
That's why I like these like fringe mid-level labels that are real artist focused, like Sargent House or like Prophecy, that are doing this really cool curation across genres. But you can still kind of see the connective tissue between all the artists that they pick, even though they may not sound exactly the same.
Which is a good thing. Like, I mean, there are common threads in music, as we know, but I tend to gravitate towards more eclectic labels and bands, like that don't sound like somebody else, but you can hear their influence, but they don't wear it on their sleeve. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's the same with labels. Like, like Profound Lore is a good example. Like Chris, I mean, I've driven around in Chris Bruni's car, and he's like listening to dubstep while we're talking about releasing the Leviathan album and like a Witch Mountain record. Like he's a very eclectic guy, a very eclectic label.
They're another super cool label
so Sub Rosa was on them, right?
Sub Rosa.
That's right.
He's done records for a lot of way different kinds of bands, like from he did this record for Infernal Coil, which is a band from Boise that is just grindy, it's like brutal heavy grindy shit, and then at the same time putting out Bell Witch record, which is like in one song 86 minutes.
Funeral Doom.
Very different. All right, so let's listen to another one. So the next one is an artist called Yuri. This record is called Render Unto Yuri. What is,
look at this.
What is Yuri's? And the song is called Elektrogram. So obviously right off the bat, visual presentation, expecting something
industrial,
maybe. That's what I'm hoping
electronic.
for. Yeah,
disco.
definitely.
Ooh, yeah,
that would be fine. We listened to one album that was like Knights Reb, like early industrial, but with a bunch of different vocalists and all singing about cats killing mice and rats.
Cats killing mice.
Yeah, the artist is
amazing.
The artist is Cat Temper.
Cat Temper.
Check it out on Bandcamp.
And it did. It sounded like early Knights Reb, Skinny Puppy, like Throbbing Gristle. You know, it was like
wow, dude, music with felines.
Oh yeah. There's one song that's like an ABBA song called Doom Puma.
Doom Puma
that I listened to nonstop.
Doom Puma. That's fucking awesome.
All right.
Wait a second. Do you have a cat, Billy?
No, I don't.
Oh my God. This is like our first guest in how many that doesn't have a cat?
Yeah. There's always a cat crawling around in the background somewhere.
I'm a dog dude. This is the first actually place I've lived where I didn't have a dog because the landlord won't allow dogs, but I'm a dog guy.
Yeah.
I don't like cats, but
I used to be. Well, I mean, I still am, but
yeah, we have a dog, and anytime JD comes over, that dog gets more attention in like an hour than she gets in a week from the rest of us.
A dog
my girl.
A dog would chew off its own paw to like hang out with you. You know, a cat will like bail if you don't feed it for a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But see, I'm actually pretty allergic to cats.
Me too.
And they love me because I don't pay attention to them. So when they have cats here, and their cats are like, "Ooh, that one.
They all want to hang out.
He doesn't want me, so I think I need him."
They're kind of like little attention whores, to be honest.
Why does this guy not want to cuddle me?
A little
which
bit.
Is endearing. You know, they're like, "Pay attention to me," you know, which dogs are too, but in a much more like I don't care kind of way. You know, like one of my old pit bulls used to like, you know, play catch, and he'd run into the wall like going really fast with this big skull, and like he'd come back like, "How did I do, Dad?" You know, like,
"How did I do? Did I please you? Did I please you?
Yeah.
Are
you happy with me?"
Cats are like, sweet. I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Just feed me. You know, touch me. I don't care about you though. You know?
Pit bulls are so sweet and so dumb.
I've always had
so
pit
dumb.
bulls. I've rescued I've taken rescues quite a few pit bulls, and they're the sweetest animals in the world to me. They get treated poorly and a bad rap for sure.
Yeah, that's what we have. That's our last two dogs have been rescues, and for some reason we landed on YouTube last night, the whole family watching YouTube together on the Westminster Dog Show agility competitions.
Really?
And I'm watching these dogs, and I was like, my dog would fucking school every one of these dogs on this course. Like, we need to get into this. So because they're like grouped into categories by their height, I think at their front shoulder. And so I'm measuring her. I'm like, okay, she's under 20, but over 16. She would have smoked that dog.
Yeah.
So,
I saw one of those in real life once.
Yeah. Oh, I
took Addie to a birthday party at this like ice skating rink, indoor soccer place. And they had one of those agility competitions with all those dogs running around and the owners that would run next to them and get them to jump and do like, it was amazing. It was so cool to watch.
Yeah.
Those things are hilarious.
The whole culture of the dog world fascinates me. I mean, one of my all-time favorite movies is Best in Show.
Oh, so good.
I assume you've seen that.
Yeah.
We watch it once a year at least. Oh man, that movie's great.
We watched that I think last month.
Like, who's gonna do a movie about crazy old cat people or just crazy cat people? Like,
ooh, there needs to be.
Yeah.
Someone should get in on that.
Because cat people are a different kind of crazy than the Best in Show people, you know.
Yeah, especially different the crazy kind of
crazy. Yeah, I know a few.
Yuri. Ooh.
All right. Ooh, there's Yuri. All right, let's listen to Yuri. I see crazy beards.
That's a crazy beard
and a bass. So
where are they from?
Ooh. They are from Serbia.
Ooh, Serbia.
Okay.
Belgrade.
That label that we listened to last week?
Yeah, Librarian
Records. They were all Serbia.
Yeah, a bunch of Serbian bands. It was funny. All right, here we go. Elektrogram.
Maybe.
Wow. Is that like an old MP3, like a super low res MP3? Like it sounds like it has flange on it.
I don't know.
Mixed by the drummer. Definitely mixed by the drummer.
100% mixed by the drummer. Jesus Christ. Bass player's like, dude, give me something.
Especially the bass player has like the Eastern Euro like haircut and like left-handed. But yeah, definitely mixed and recorded by the drummer. It might be his band.
For sure. All right, I need to hear another track because that was nuts. Okay.
It's not crazy.
It sounded cool. It was hard to hear
like
though.
Cool jam, but it's hard to hear anything.
Yeah.
There you go.
Still mixed by the drummer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like hi-hat. Is this just a two-piece?
It would appear that way. Yeah, it sounds like a two-piece.
It's really cool. I'm into it. I like it.
I can see it being cool. I mean, it sounds like a self-recorded sort of thing.
It doesn't
a lot of experience recording, but definitely the drummer is the top.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and this is the second band in a row where the there's like no merch, not very many followers. So you can tell this is
not very many. There's none.
There's none in this case. The other one was just like a row or two. When you have a band on Bandcamp, you pay attention to these.
Oh yeah,
you pay attention to these things.
When was this? When did this album come out?
This album came out in April 2019.
Oh, 2019.
Yeah.
So it's not a quarantine project.
Definitely not a quarantine project. Well, all right.
It has potential.
I'm gonna give Slaughter Song just one.
Slaughter.
One
what
little.
If it's a Slaughter cover? That'd be awesome.
Oh, I'm in. Mark Slaughter all day,
dude. S laughter.
All right, so it's drum solos, and then he let the bass player play a little bit of bass in the background.
I just kept going. Huh? I didn't hear any of it.
Oh, you didn't? You couldn't hear that?
No, I heard like a little kind of a drum roll, like sound like Fred Flintstone starting his car.
Oh, that's weird.
Here, let's try that again. Yes.
Then it dies. Like I heard nothing after that first 3 snare hits.
I'm guessing that has to do with all of the compressing and insanity that they're doing here on Zoom. So I'm going to figure out how to turn that off for our microphones so that we can.
I wonder how much that compression is making it sound not as good as it possibly could. I mean, I can sort of tell, like, a non-pro recording situation, or a self-recorded, perhaps rehearsal space recording from others. But I wonder how much that's a factor in like the way people hear stuff.
Yeah. All right. So let's test this again.
Could be.
Oh, there you go. Hey.
Not for me, but it sounds like they're having fun.
I like that song the least.
Yeah,
I thought I
kind of liked it.
The other two were kind of cool.
That's one. This
was all cool. It was just like
I
couldn't get past like the direct sound of the bass and like the sound of like 2 mics maybe up overheads on the drums. Kind of just it sounded kind of trashy, but like you can tell definitely they're having fun, and could be great musicians, you know, like they probably are decent musicians at the very worst, but
oh yeah,
kind of hard to get past the recording of it.
Yeah, the recording was, I mean, yeah, it sounded like they mic'd the drums and then they just said, you stand back there.
Yeah.
Play your, my mics will pick up your sound.
Yeah.
I will say it sounds like they were playing live, which is, it's harder to pull off with like an interface in a rehearsal room kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Because you
sure.
get like 2 or 4 at a time at most, unless you spend a considerable amount more money, you know. But it sounded like they were playing live. It just, it was a little hard to hear what was going on, but it sounds like they were having fun and perhaps even shredding.
Perhaps, yes. And Susie, when she was on, made a good case for like, hey, sometimes like ugly, gross, bad things are good. Like, especially music. Like sometimes you want to challenge yourself by listening.
Again, I've made a life out of it.
Yeah.
You know,
again.
Well, you ride the line though, I think, in a good way, and you know, in the stuff that you choose to do, because there's also obviously brilliant technical, and like when there's a production choice for something messy like that, it's a choice. It's not
I mean, I've definitely seriously made a life out of like trying to exploit the best qualities of bands, and sometimes that's the best quality, you know, like the ugliness and the dissonance and the din, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, we don't want that to sound clean.
I mean,
Yeah.
Certainly there were moments in the studio, especially when Troy was tracking vocals, where you're just like, no, man, the juice that's in that part is the mess of it. And so don't go back and redo it, because there was so much good feeling in it that even if it drifts in and out of tune at some point or another, the overall impact of it is powerful.
You know, within reason. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Within reason. Like if you're a half step out of tune, we have to, you know, punch something in. But like, I'll take feel and vibe over technical perfection any day. And I've said it 1,000 times, and I live by it. You know, but sometimes the best thing to exploit about, or to magnify about a band is like the ugliness of it. You know.
Yeah.
So Susie made a good point, and there's hardly anything I've ever recorded by that band that's been ugly in any way, you know.
They're capable of that. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, she could go up and belch on a mic and it would be beautiful, you know. Same with Jamie, you know.
What
like
does Susie sound like when she burps?
It sounds like a little fairy, like sprinkling dust on something, you know.
Yeah, Jamie has definitely figured out a kind of a guitar style that's this like crushing but beautiful.
Crushing, simple, beautiful, and dark.
Yeah.
For anybody who doesn't know that's listening, we're talking about Broom.
Yeah, Broom. And Susie was our very first guest. If you haven't gone back and listened to everything yet.
Love Susie. Love all those guys.
Yeah, they're great. I miss them terribly. We're supposed to go up to Susie's house and have drinks in the backyard, and then she's going to let our daughters go through her like a big pile of like crazy clothes that she wants to get rid of.
Oh, dude.
Apparently we're raising a bunch of little Susies.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of
outfits.
Just clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Costumes.
I think the last time I was over there, or maybe like whenever I end up in San Francisco, like when I was recording you guys, I stayed at her place, and because they have an Airbnb room in their house, and
I have stayed in that room.
Yeah, the pink room.
Yeah,
that's where she recorded from.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
And at the time, she was collecting clothes to send to flood victims. You know.
Yeah.
So she's really got piles of clothes around it. She's amazing because I think it was the first album I did with them. She dressed as one of her favorite like music idols every single day of recording. So one day she was Susie Sue, one day she was like Diamanda, another day she was, I forget, but man,
Ollie.
she had on a different outfit every day. It was adorable and awesome.
To like just get in the mood.
Just to get everybody hyped and to get herself in the mood. And,
vocals especially, like I hadn't really been in the studio before with someone who stressed kind of the like when we're all in the room recording, there's only so much you can do from a vibe standpoint in the room itself. But when he set Troy up to record, it was like make a nice place, and there were candles and like create an atmosphere, especially for the singer, that they're comfortable in. Yeah, because you're going to get the best out of them, and that was a really cool, bit of guidance that I had
make the singer comfortable.
Never gotten before.
It's got to be that way, man. I think like if the singer's not comfortable, I can hear that in records. Like I can hear when the singer records that I didn't do. I can hear when the singer isn't comfortable and isn't. They feel under pressure or their headphones aren't right, and it's like they got to feel right about singing. Because think about it, you've written these lyrics that mean something deep to you.
Yeah.
And you're putting it out there in music form that lives forever for your grandkids to hear. Well after you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be right for them to be able to perform correctly. It's pretty important, man. Vibe is.
Oh yeah,
it's
totally.
all about vibe.
Yeah, I mean, and there's obviously a lot of feel in guitar and in bass and in drums.
Absolutely.
But like I have frets, right? So I know what's an E and what's an E flat. So it's like as long as you can roughly play your instrument, the average person's not going to listen to the recording and go, "Oh, the bass is a little bit weird." But the vocals, anyone out on the street has heard a singer sing and can feel like they have a reasonable critique of that singer's performance.
Yeah.
Really,
and to be honest, most people listen to the vocals, above everything else. Like they could, your average Joe on the street could care less about the guitar and drums and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the music. They would miss it if it wasn't there, but they're focusing on the vocals.
Yeah. Well, it's. I mean, we've talked about this before. It's the make or break for me.
Yeah.
Like I could be listening to the most amazing band ever, and if that singer comes on and just doesn't sound right to me, it ruins the whole thing.
Yeah, I can see that. Like,
all right, so we have a third submission here, and then we'll show off some records that we bought, and then we'll get into this Bandcamp "Is It Heavy or Not" business. So this is a band from Poland.
Basement black metal.
Dude, I like that you can't figure out how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Thun.
And the art is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
the art is cool.
I really like that. If you're not,
it's like Pusshead meets black metal.
Yeah,
right.
It's exactly what it's like. A single color pus head, 4 skulls with like gross tongues coming out with spider webs and shit. Oh, that's.
And skulls don't have tongues.
Yeah, or teeth.
That's awesome.
All right, so
we've talked about this before.
We talked about this. That actually crossed
completely
my mind.
Anthropologically incorrect.
Yeah.
So,
kidding.
So
that's amazing artwork.
There was a cover that we saw that we all liked. It was kind of like a cartoony zombie, like flesh coming out and brain sticking out with perfect teeth. And I was like, come on. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
he had done to work after death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is this song
all right?
PLESN?
PLESN? Look, I can't speak Polish.
Yeah.
You're
pronouncing it wrong for sure. I don't know how to pronounce it, but definitely we're pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah.
Plage.
Yeah, it's like
So the song is called "Disappointment of Creation." All right, set us up there.
Damn.
So all of this
How long is
together, it's about 4 minutes.
Okay.
All of this together sets up a certain kind of expectations from the the art to the title to this picture of these
this guy
Polish
right
dudes.
I think it's gonna batter if it's like boy band rock.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Right?
All right, here we go. Thun. So that I can get behind.
I like all their names.
The names are the best part, dude.
The names
I didn't know Killdozer was still a band, but he plays bass.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what the top one is.
JD Burner. He's like from Mississippi. He's like from Louisiana or something.
Yeah, Planet Eater.
Do you recognize the Peter Semiros? Is the producer, mixer, engineer?
No.
Transistor Studio in Warsaw.
That was, maybe it's just my untrained ear, but it sounded like the bass and the guitar playing the exact same thing, and I couldn't tell the two apart.
Yeah, the guitars were low. I heard a lot of bass.
Yeah, it was pretty bass.
It was cool.
Mixed by the bass player. Mixed by the bass player
Mixed
this time.
by the bass player. So
maybe the bass player is maybe Killdozer is Peter's brother.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're the same person. I don't know.
All right.
I think that they sound like a beginning band too, a little bit. Pretty simple. Not bad at all. Definitely like riff based. I wish it sounded a little better.
Yeah, they call themselves Basement Black Metal from Warsaw. So, and part of that might be you hearing it through Zoom. So don't.
Could be.
Ooh,
here's some more.
Going for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something contentious.
Let's hear it.
This, to me, this actually sounds more like sort of a new hardcore band.
Oh, really?
It doesn't sound much black metal.
I'm not hearing black metal at all.
No tremolo picking. There's no blast beats. There's maybe some heavy atmosphere on the guitars, but it's sort of hard to tell.
I like the anger of the vocalist.
Yeah.
Like he sounds truly pissed. He doesn't sound like he's going through the motions.
I was picturing them on like live. And I bet their live show is crazy town.
And if that was being played by four dudes with short hair and shorts, and like, you know, no shirts on, it would, and you said, oh, this is like hardcore or post-hardcore, it'd be like, all right.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe that too, yeah. Like they're all, you know, doing curls before the show and stuff.
Yeah.
You know? But like I can see, you know, I can see it both ways.
Yeah, it's like the metalcore.
Have more of a
like,
hardcore metalcore kind of thing.
It's like the most precious
repetition
blood type. Yeah.
Not very complex, but really cool. I liked it. It sounds truly like convicted, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like it sounds like they mean it and they're super into it and they probably practice 6 days a week and.
Yep. Yeah, that came up with Christian too. It's like funny how you can hear that. Like they're fucking dead serious about this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which is awesome.
They're putting their heart into it. Here's I want to hear a little bit of Fractal Tranquility.
Ooh, whoa.
Because that's a nice contrast.
Who doesn't?
Since we're already talking essentially about fractals earlier, we might as well, right?
Right.
Let's do it.
This is their ballad.
Makes me want to make sweet, sweet love.
Yeah.
Tell Matt to come over.
Yeah.
He's here.
Similar riff structure too. It's like dung 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 dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Is this their only release?
Looks like it.
An excellent question.
I would like to hear that.
I like it though, but yeah, that's they're a hardcore band,
right? Yeah, no, this is it. Yeah, so
I would like to hear more guitar. Like I wish the bass player didn't mix it.
Yeah, seriously, it's really hard.
I've noticed the toms. The toms sounded amazing. Like better than the rest of the kit, better than any other, sound-wise, better than any other element. The toms sounded great on that one.
There you go.
There you go.
Billy Anderson said your toms sounded great.
The man.
Killer tom sounds.
Thumbs up.
Interesting trick to pull off with all that bass too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of frequency crossover, as I learned from being in the studio with Billy.
Yeah, and the bass is distorted, which is hard to pull off with, you know, distorted guitar and bass. They share a similar frequency range a lot of times.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so that's what I'll say. Like my practical advice, especially if you guys are new, is for the bass player and the guitar player to kind of go off together without the rest of the band and work on your tones, not individually, but as a unit, so that you can come up with something that's much more complementary. So the guitars will pop out. It wasn't just the mix. The guitars were in the mix.
I could hear them.
They just
were thin and
I could only hear them when they were like ringing out. Like
yeah.
the note would sort of hang on for a second, and that's the only time I could hear the guitars.
When they weren't playing the same thing as the bass, which was a lot of the times. Like they were playing unison or the same part a lot of the times, which is, a big part of what we do heavy music wise. When you're playing the same thing, it's heavier and shit. But you could only really hear the guitars when they weren't playing the same thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people like focus on, especially if you're bass player or guitar player, you focus on your own sound, but don't spend a lot of time with the other members of your band. I mean, and when you get into having multiple guitars in metal, especially where you're trying to create these kind of expansive soundscapes, is like, what's each one of our role, right? Like, which frequencies are we filling? What tones are we adding? What kind of space and volume are we creating? How does it all mix together?
And volume, like, okay, so like a lot of, most bands I work with obviously like play at extreme volumes. Like the other day we were doing some guitar overdubs, and you could not be in the same room with Matt's guitar rig. Like I went in there to move a mic and he didn't stop, and I swear I lost my night vision for like 20 minutes. like my
So
eyeballs
loud
felt like they went. Yeah, and it's like if you're in a small, let's face it, most bands don't have the luxury of having a giant rehearsal space. So if you're in a gigantic, or if you're in a tiny little room with a gigantic sound and your volume is just dimed to where you're going to be deaf by the age of 40, you're not hearing any detail, right? And so it's really hard to tell like what the other person's even playing, let alone what their tone's like. And if you think about it, like if you're in a small room and you have a full stack, if you're right next to it, you can't hear it. That's why you're going to keep turning up. To be able to hear it, you need to be a certain amount of feet away from it.
Yeah.
Because the sound wave leaves the thing, and if you're like a foot away from it, you'll never hear it. And so basically, if you're loud, you don't know what anybody's doing except for yourself, and then not even yourself because you're too loud.
Yeah.
Turn down a little bit.
So Matt doesn't have like a little 10-watt amp that he can record with?
He does. When he comes over here, he records through like this tiny Terror.
Oh yeah, and makes sense.
I have a couple of I have a 5150 that's a 5-watt, and it goes through like a 212, but you wouldn't be able to tell by the recording of it.
Yeah, once you put a mic up in front of it, it's
one mic.
Different.
You mic one cabinet. It's like to walk into a 100 capacity club with a full stack is kind of a ridiculous notion, right?
Except I love the bands that do it. For fuck's sake.
Oh man, I've done it. I think it looks cool, but you don't. I've done it where you don't even have the bottom cabinet plugged in. It's just so you can have the
just looks good.
So you can have it up in your face, and then you don't need to be as loud.
Yeah. Like when Toke rolled in and played at the Caravan, those dudes are absolutely fucking committed to as many speakers. And then we're like
to
90
injure
people.
backs.
Yeah.
From
there's no stage. They're at max going to be 60 people in this room.
Yeah.
But that's just what they do.
Before Sleep, before that Dope Smoker album came out, they had all this gear, and Al had bought those 415 cabinets. He had cabinets with 415s on them, and he had 4 of them.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
15s. No matter what size the club was, he insisted on them all being in there. And Matt had 2 full stacks at Pony Express or wherever, small clubs. And it looks cool, but you'll never hear the drums or the vocal.
Yeah, you won't hear it.
No need for it, but it looks hella cool.
Pony Express, for anyone listening who wants to go down a killer rabbit hole of Bay Area music history, is look up Pony Express Pizza. And I actually think there might be a little documentary about it. It was in Redwood City, right?
I think so, yeah.
Somewhere up on the peninsula, this pizza joint that had a stage that just put on the raddest shows.
They're great shows. There was like one guy there, a couple guys that really were into those bands, and there were some great shows there, man. I have a couple flyers. It was like Sleep and I don't know.
At a pizza joint.
Oh yeah, the Melvins, Neurosis.
Yeah.
I think even some of the big thrash bands played at Pony Express.
Yep,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
What was the capacity?
Oh, not very many people.
I don't know, 60 or 70 people.
Yeah.
So it was like caravan size.
Small. It was smaller.
Smaller?
Yeah.
Like you'd have
That's
to move
amazing.
tables. You have to move tables.
Like clear the pizza tables.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
One
We
of
had a
those,
Pony Express, but it didn't have shows.
Yeah, no, it was Pony Express Pizza. You know, a band came up a couple of weeks ago that I thought was curious if you had any memories of. You remember Grotus?
Of course.
Yeah. So
Dude,
I mean,
okay.
I knew you would, but
Dude, the drummer Bruce Juice, he quit my band to join Grotus.
oh really?
I was in this band. I was in this band Dysfunction, and he was the drummer in Dysfunction, and he quit Dysfunction to join Grotus. I love Grotus, dude. They could do no wrong. They were an early, like, they were doing stuff that a lot of bands weren't doing. You know, even Ministry wasn't doing shit like that then. They had like visuals and like they had like loops that the drummer was playing to, and they were doing all kinds of crazy shit. I love them. They had one of the best live shows you'll ever see.
Yeah, well, I saw them a bunch of times, and they were fucking great. And why did they come up? They came up because they reminded me of.
It reminded you of somebody.
Whores, maybe. You know,
It was with Christian.
It was with Christian.
We were talking about
talking about it was just this like this weird mishmash of stuff that was going on in San Francisco at that time.
Yeah,
it was
like
such
hip hop meets industrial meets like, you know, Neurosis style, like slow, heavy.
Yeah, he's like shrieking vocals like I hadn't at that point in my life I hadn't heard somebody do vocals like that.
Yeah.
And then there's this like tribal stuff playing in the background, and
they had loops of like sampled stuff with a live drummer playing on top of it.
Yeah.
You remember Consolidated?
Interesting.
No.
The band Consolidated. They were doing a similar kind of thing. They started off kind of like Ministry did as a dance kind of band, but they evolved into like just this huge political thing, and they had a live drummer with loops. So it's always interesting to see a drummer playing a simple kit on top of like a hip hop or a tribal beat that's blasting through a loud PA.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That kind of sounds like I saw a few times there was a band called Crash Worship.
Oh yeah.
That was just crazy. I mean, those shows were just debauchery and multiple drummers, and
that's
I'm pretty sure that Grotus and Crash Worship shared bills together with Neurosis and, you know, Consolidated probably.
I'm sure. Well, and our buddy Eric, who works at the Ritz, played drums for the Electric Hellfire Club.
Okay.
And you know, they were similar. He was playing pads and doing all kinds of crazy shit, and Electric Hellfire was real weird at. I mean, they've always been weird, but
they toured a lot with like Thrill Kill Cult.
Yeah.
Dude, before that, around that time, there was a band called Sharkbait in San Francisco.
That sounds really familiar.
John Weiss, drummer, Andrew Weiss's brother from Rollins' band. John Weiss actually ended up playing drums in Porn for a while when I was in Porn.
Oh, okay.
But it was like industrial as fuck. Like he had a drum kit ish, but he also had pieces of sheet metal and like brake rotors that were mic'd up, and they made their own contact mics, and they had contact mics all over all this, you know, like junkyard stuff. And then they had a guy that was the singer that had like a reel-to-reel tape machine that he would like scratch with.
Oh wow.
And like the bass, everybody had different like pieces of percussion that were all contact mics, but you know, the bass player had a thing and he would bang on other shit at the same time. They were an amazing live band too. They had fire, like people doing fire stuff.
Well, it's like all of that now rolls up to somebody who kind of blew up over the last 5 years or so, fucking Author and Punisher. Who opened those Tool shows, who's like, I love all that stuff, but I'm gonna do it all by myself.
I love both those guys. I'm just kidding. I love both those guys. Author sometimes, not so much. Punisher, my dude.
Punisher, totally down.
Dude, that guy's a genius. And Tristan is a mad scientist.
Oh yeah,
like he builds robots and shit.
That's crazy.
And some of his concoctions are just like, how did you think to even do that? Like the vocal mic with like 6 different mics in it and effects, and like that sub low end rotating thing. Oh man. Well, it takes him like all day to set up for a show.
I can imagine.
Well, and then there's the Captured by Robots guy.
Yeah.
He's incredible too.
I love that man.
He's such a hilarious curmudgeon too. If you're on social media with him, he's like one of my favorite follows. Because he's just like,
he writes me every now and then to ask advice about some audio thing or something, but I'm like, dude, you're asking me, you're the guy that has robots that play with you. Why are you asking me? You know?
Yeah,
He's definitely an older man than he is.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and he's been kind of basking in it this year because he's sort of like, I told you. Like,
Yeah.
come on, everyone.
He's right.
Everyone needs robots.
Yeah. Dude, it's such a cool thing that he pulls that off, and he's super dedicated to it. Like,
and I love the drum battles when he makes the like drummer battle his drummer, and then he just keeps ratcheting the speed up until the other drummer just can't follow anymore.
And the fact that he can do it live, and it's all like hydraulically controlled.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's all
fucking crazy. Like,
it's like Chuck E. Cheese animatronics.
Yeah,
yeah.
And he interacts live with all of them. And...
take off the plush exterior.
But if you're listening and you don't know, the concept is it's a band, but the band is two music playing robots, a drummer and then one that plays guitar and bass, all like live on stage mechanical music playing robots. And then the man involved, and his name totally escapes me right now. Jason. He plays a human that was captured by the robots, and they force him to sing. So he's on stage with like a chain around his neck, and he's chained to the robots. Yeah. So he's like their human slave who has to perform for the robots. It's so great. And he
interacts live with them, and he has to sort of sequence all of the music out beforehand. But he also does he's able to do some live interaction and, like, you know, improv type stuff. So it's not all sequenced out. He's a genius, man. He's a fucking genius. He needs an art grant. If he already doesn't have one.
Yeah, this is America, so I'm gonna go with no.
Yeah, if he was Norwegian, he'd be a millionaire. Yeah.
Canadian, yeah.
Hey, I mean, that's come up the last 3 interviews in a row. How sad our country is when it comes to art. Although I will say that if this bill they're talking about goes through, this next stimulus, I don't know what it's stimulating. It's more like, you know, emergency, but it has $15 billion in it for small independent venues.
Yeah.
And prioritizing independent venues who 90% or more of their revenue was lost because all they do is sell tickets for shows and have a bar. And so all of these California venues, because California's hit hard. They weren't open. The bars weren't operating. Should hopefully get some support, some priority support.
Yeah, they're figuring it out now. It's the National Independent Venue Association.
If it's for real, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, if it happens, like, that's awesome because
venues
here are a trip because, like, a lot of venues were also bars, and bars to be a bar here you have to serve food, and so they're also restaurants. So a lot of them without music are doing okay, but not as good. You know, there's very few exclusively music places here, and those places definitely have been hit hard, you know. But most places here also have bar and restaurants, so they've been able to remain at least in business.
Yeah,
you know, California, very different story.
Very different. All right, so we do a little segment in the middle, in between listening to music, because JD and I buy lots of shit from bands, where, you know, we show off any records that we've got in the mail this week, or any
gear,
band T-shirts or new gear. If you have
a ton of new gear
if you bought anything new lately, feel free to show it off. But the first thing I'm going to do is announce our very first giveaway, which is, so JD and I buy records for each other all the time.
Yes.
I'm grabbing that one. I'll grab 2 copies. Well, it's more like save on shipping or whatever. Don't make the band package up 2 packages if we're both going to buy the same record.
Common law married, basically.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, essentially, everyone who listens to this knows this, but our 2 families, our kids are best friends. And we live a block and a half apart, so we ganged up in July and just said we're an 8-person family. So
it would be stupid if it wasn't that way, you know?
Yeah,
for real.
So these are the only other humans I get to see on like a very normal, you know, like hang out just the way it was before.
Kept us all sane.
So I wake up one morning, I see a post from King Buffalo, who's a band that we both really like. That their live record, they did the Freak Valley, you know, that Freak Valley Festival, they always do live recordings of a bunch of the bands, and then labels put out the live recordings as records. I was like, cool, I'm gonna order one, and I'll order one for JD too, because they're already selling out. Like, one of the variants had already sold. I come over that day and I go, oh, hey, the King Buffalo record came out. I ordered 2 copies, and he goes, so did I.
I was going to ask you, what happens when that happens? Do you return them?
So we have 4 copies.
So we have 4 copies. So we're actually going to.
So this is what happens.
What happens is we are going to give away to 2 people on social media, and we'll announce on Facebook and Instagram exactly how we're going to give them away, what hoops you have to jump through.
You got to help us get some more followers,
or get
some more subscribers,
get people to subscribe or something. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out,
and we'll send you a copy. This is a double LP recorded live in Germany.
How many songs?
This is I don't know. It's a bunch of, it's 2 records worth. I mean, for King Buffalo, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's only 6 songs.
I mean,
It's a live show. It's a live show.
Yeah, and it's their full live performance, and they're fantastic live. They're
great.
Yeah, you know, they're kind of in that All Them Witches. They kind of like set a pattern, set a groove, and then they explore on it, right? So they come in and out of the same thing a bunch. So it's kind of jam bandy,
kind of jammy, but heavy jammy,
like
but heavy jammy.
Kind of,
yeah, like Earthless, so similar to Earthless, but with
concept-wise, maybe not musically.
He sings and has a really great voice, and it's just like really, I don't know. I find it really soothing music.
That's great.
Reason. It's like it's very chill,
even
though it's like heavy and has nuts. And so we're gonna give away 2 copies. It's a sweet. It's like a green. Even though I haven't looked at them yet. It's like a little green splatter.
It's like
it's gonna look crazy because of the green screen.
Ooh, you can't even see it.
What are you holding up anything? No, I can only see it because of the reflection.
Yeah,
That's
no,
awesome.
since it's green, and since we have the green screen function turned on in Zoom, Zoom's like, I don't know what to do with this record, so here's more background.
Oh wait, that isn't a banner behind you?
No, it's not. It's totally digital, man.
Yeah.
I can tell
Yeah, it was
there's
like-
no wrinkles.
Yeah, I was like, I was gonna hit up Mucho to print a banner. Our buddy Mucho print stuff, and I was like, we don't need a banner. We just need a virtual
Just need a
banner.
green sheet.
Sorry, Mucho.
Sorry, but I'll order other shit from Mucho.
Exactly.
You bought any cool gear in the quarantine times? Anything
I've
new?
been buying a lot of gear, man. I've been buying a lot of pedals.
Yeah,
man. I'm sort of setting up for the possible future of not being able to play a lot of live shows or, in front of a lot of people. And so I still have my loud shit, but I've been buying like preamp pedals a lot.
yeah.
And like IR cabinet simulator pedals,
Oh, interesting.
where you can actually generate your own impulse response and have a simulated cabinet that just goes direct into an interface or a PA, anything.
Into the board.
So I've been collecting a lot of those. I got a couple of pedals that are, I love 5150s. I used to have one that burned down when my house burned down, but I have like 3 different 5150 emulator preamp pedals that you can't really use it as a pedal. You have to plug them into the input of your effects loop because they're so hot output, but they also have cabinet simulators on them.
Oh, wow.
So I've been collecting a lot of stuff like that. Like I could literally play a show if there was a good PA without a guitar rig, and it would sound like a mic'd up 5150.
So now you're gonna have to start a metalcore band because that's all those guys use.
Yeah. Before Triple Rex were a thing for sure.
Whenever a band rolls up for a show and like the 2 guitar players are pushing a rack system, I go like, all right, I know what's about to happen.
I know what
here.
this is gonna sound like.
Yeah. I mean, for a while it was like pods. Like first time I saw Meshuggah, it was like I walked into the venue and they were already playing because I was late. But I didn't see any cabs on stage, no guitar rigs. They just had a rack with a pod and a wedge.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hand your sound guy like a DI,
I mean, I guess listening to Meshuggah, that doesn't shock me that they would be able to get those tones.
Dude, it'd be weird if they didn't sound robotic. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it has to sound that. So
it has to have a certain sound. But
So funny story. The first big show I played when I was in high school was opening up for the Deli Creeps, who I know you will remember.
Buckethead.
One of Buckethead's first musical operations at One Step Beyond in Santa Clara. And Buckethead rolled up with his bucket on already. He was a passenger he wasn't driving with his mask and his bucket, but he was a passenger. And he had like a little 15-watt PV practice amp. That's all he had. Yeah. And then I think he had a pedal board, but his guy running sound had it.
That's what it's about, dude.
At the board, and he just mic'd up that little PV amp, and we were just like, huh? And
if
then
there's a decent PA, all you need is that. Like I know that like Kirk Hammett, his live setup is like a Fender Twin or something like that behind all the fake empty guitar cabinets that's mic'd up in a box and just cranked with like a tube screamer or something ridiculous like that. Like,
yeah,
you're micing one speaker, and if it's through a good PA, that's all you need.
yeah.
You know, like I could roll in with a pedal board with like a preamp pedal and a cabinet simulator pedal that I made the impulse response that's like a stadium. And if I had a good sound guy and a good PA, it sounds huge.
Yeah.
As long as I can hear myself play, you know, like I've been collecting stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I could see the value of that.
I'm not planning for being able to play a live show anytime soon. You know?
Yeah.
But if I do, I could roll up without a stack. You know,
I'd probably be smart to grab a Meat Smoke preamp pedal for when it doesn't make sense to bring the full rig.
That said, High Tone just did a thing where we played a live set at Howard Halls. Yeah, it drops January 1st. And it came out really good. It's we did 2 sets, and the second set is being edited as we speak. But the first set is done and looks amazing and sounds great. It was all recorded live, and I had my ridiculous rig, like like my old GK rig from 1977.
The 800.
Yeah, it's the 400B.
Oh, okay.
With the 412, it's got the cabinet's got 412s and 210s.
Yeah, that's
like 4 backwards firing 12s and 210s coming out the front. On its side with an 810 on top of that. That's a stadium sized rig. Having said that, I have been working on paring down also, but that's just a ridiculous bass rig.
Who was it? Oh, when we interviewed Trevor from Haunt, he said he's the next touring he's going to do is most likely going to be in Europe.
Yeah.
And it was Trevor, was one other person too, but like amp dependent guitar players have a really hard time when they go to Europe because you just don't know what you're going to get for backline.
You get a Marshall or an Orange
or whatever. And so he's trying to figure out, because he's like a very few pedals and the amp's got to be the right amp kind of guy. So he's trying to sort that out. And then Amy from Year of the Cobra was like, I'm building a pedal board to deal with Europe because it was so fucked the last time we went over there. I just didn't know what I was going to get, and we blew stuff up regularly. So
if you're borrowing, you're fucked, especially if you play specific shit. If you're renting, you get the standard Chevy, like Marshall, Ampeg, or now Orange is doing rental company stuff. But like, it's basically, you get 3 choices: Marshall, Orange, Ampeg.
Yeah.
If you have specific amp and cabinet needs, you might be kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Like I remember when Sleep went over there the first time, they were like, they had to borrow shit and they couldn't bring all that green stuff,
No. It's kind of expensive.
So they were playing through
that.
Ampegs and Marshalls and just confused about it all.
Well, Al eventually got on board with the Ampegs.
Yeah, eventually, yeah. There was a time though.
I still
those 415s.
I still can't do it. Whenever I get a standard SVT and an Ampeg cab, it just sounds wrong to me. I don't know.
It sounds it's like a rental car to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're loud and they sound good, but it's like, there's nothing special about it. It's all about your pedal board.
Yeah. The only time it actually worked out is when my amp blew up before we went in to record our Thin Lizzy cover, and Jeff Matz loaned me his old Blue Line SVT that he has,
which is heavily modded.
It's modded, and it's like a 68 or it's pretty old, and that thing sounded fucking great.
Yeah. Jeff's a special guy. He is playing electric saws on this Pike album.
Oh, is he?
Is
that one that Jay built him, the JML Guitars one?
I think so, yeah.
I just got my bass that he built for me.
Yeah.
So I have a JML 5-string jazz now.
Nice.
And it was a thing of great wonder.
It's Birdie.
It's incredible.
Custom guitars are so awesome, man.
And I haven't had a neck through bass in so long.
Yeah.
And it's like the fucking sustain and just the clarity, and I feel like I can hear so many more like harmonics, overtones and undertones.
Yeah.
Just pluck, with nothing, completely untreated, no pedals, no nothing.
Yeah.
I just forgot because I haven't played a neck through in a long time. Like it makes a difference.
And a 5-string jazz bass is no joke either.
Yeah, not at all. Well, and the guy who built the pickups copied the wiring for and the overall design for the Bill Lawrence jazz pickups that he built for Roscoe Beck's custom model. That was my favorite, all-time favorite pickup, specifically designed for a 5-string jazz.
Right.
And, so I was like kind of like crossing my fingers, hoping he got it right, and he fucking nailed it. They sound so good.
Cool. Congratulations. Yeah, I've been trying to, Seeger guitars.
Yes.
He builds matte guitars, and he's built a lot of people really cool guitars, but he has a certain sort of style. It's like Monson guitars. You're going to get a certain sort of look. And
you can see.
It's not a one-trick pony or anything like that. It's just he has what he likes to do. And I tried to talk him into building me a baritone guitar that's a flying V. And he was like, "Let me wrap my head around that."
I think Sasha's done some baritone V's, and I'm sure Jay would do it. Jay's like up for whatever.
I was talking to I wanted one of those aluminum ones. Then he told me how much it would cost. I'm like, dude, it costs more than my fucking car. Like.
The aluminum. It's hard to. I don't know who's even making baritone aluminum necks.
Yeah.
But the EGC bass and guitar necks are $1,000 just for the neck itself. Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know that I would even like playing an aluminum guitar because they don't tune well, and
Yeah, I did for
shit. But
I played it for a while, but it was a 4-string, and I just that was the end of me trying to pretend like I could play 4-string. I played 5s for 30 years.
Yeah.
So I'll just
That's
keep
your
doing
shtick.
it.
That's your jam.
Well, it's just my brain and my fingers. Everything's just wired for it. And so it was, even if I tune a 4-string, for the lower 4 of a 5-string, it's still missing that high string. Just fucked me up nonstop.
Yeah. I feel you. So is the 5-string jazz bass? Does it get thin down by the headstock, like a normal jazz bass does, or does it stay wide?
It gets thin. I mean, shit. I can show you. I can show you a picture of it. It's
less thin than a 4-string, obviously, but does it do that same sort of?
Yeah, it does. And he hand carved it. So you've seen Jeff Matz's Dunnable model, right?
Yes.
So I took some design inspiration from the shape of that. So it's got a jazz flavor, and then a little bit of that Jeff Matz Dunnable flavor, and a little bit of even just a Rickenbacker in kind of the horns and the shape of the horns.
Right.
But it's really cool, and JD can vamp and talk about something while I'm looking on my computer here for a picture to show you.
Yeah.
You have questions for Billy, JD?
The answer is no.
No, I have no questions.
I have no questions. I know. I think one of the funny things that I find though, especially, and it seems that does everybody have sort of their performance instruments and then their recording instrument? Because it's like, I mean, you have how many basses? 3, 4? But you always play one bass when you play live. That is your live bass. I have a
live bass and a backup. Since I'm not switching out tunings, since Carl plays in different tunings, but I just transpose on a 5, and so I don't have to keep different basses so that I can swap to different tunings. Yeah. I can just play one bass no matter what the set is, and I always have a backup that's ready to go. But yeah, typically in a show I just play one bass unless there's a reason to play a second one, and the reason this time around will be because there's very likely going to be some fretless stuff in the next record, and that you can only play with the fretless. So then I'll have to have that, but it'll still be tuned. Yeah, it'll still be tuned the same way and everything. Yeah.
And you've got yours is the jazz, Billy.
Yeah,
like your go-to.
My main bass is a jazz bass. Even my backup is a jazz bass. It's not a Fender one, but it's the same exact design. Like I just love that feel and that sound. Like it sounds like a mean piano. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a growl that you get out of the jazz pickups that you just don't get out of.
Yeah, and the one of mine is they're stock, but it's the Aerodyne. You know what I mean? Like the early 90s one, the Aerodyne jazz bass, and the stock ones sound amazing. Like it just sounds like a throaty, like mean piano. And I've been using Jessup amplification.
No, I don't.
He's a guy out of LA. He's like a I mean, to me, he's a kid. He's like a younger guy that's like an electronics nerd, and he builds preamp sections from, you know, any amp you want. But we started by him. He sent me a diesel, one of those diesel amps, but like just the preamp section.
Yep.
And you run it into a clean channel or a power amp, and it's, you know, it's from the schematics. It's like, which you can find online for any amp. And he just sent it to me just for free. Just, he's like, I'm a fan. You know, he sent Whitehead a bunch of stuff too, but he's been building me these Sun 2000S preamp sections for my GK rig, which is mostly clean, you know, but with the Sun 2000S preamp, which has a tube in it, it sounds amazing. So I like a little growl on it with the jazz bass and the Sun 2000S. It sounds amazing, especially through that old ass GK.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's
which weighs nothing. Like I would hate to have to tour with a SVT because you wreck your back, and, you know, if you drop it, you're out like thousands and thousands of dollars. But the GK you can lift with one hand. You know, it's got like 4 wires in it. You know?
And what you need live versus in the studio totally varies based on what you're doing and really what instrument you play. You know, what your role is, what instrument you play.
Yeah.
I don't know about drums. I mean, maybe you could speak a little bit more to kind of the differences in a touring kit versus a studio kit.
Yeah, which it can often be the same shells and stuff, but like people that tour a lot tend to play like clear heads, you know, really thick because they last longer. You know.
Yeah.
Same with shells, like thick shells last longer, and they're easier to mic if you're in a live situation, just because you get less like feedback and stuff if you're trying to mic like the kick drum. But like thinner heads record a lot better.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a hard hitter, obviously you're going to buy the heads that last the longest if you're touring.
Mm-hmm.
But in the studio, the mics see a whole different thing. You know, the microphones see this much of the sound, and like
right,
thinner, like single ply coated heads record a lot better than like double ply clear heads, just because they're, you know, you get more detail, right? So there's a big difference in that, and also how hard you hit. Like hitting hard doesn't always translate well in the studio, because the mics see it very differently than your ear does coming through a loud PA. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so here you go.
Okay.
Found my pictures.
Let's see.
This is,
like,
and it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned the Aerodyne too, because I did we did edge binding on the body because I always wanted an Aerodyne.
A sharp looking, man.
Yeah,
I like the red.
Yeah, and he did red curly maple dyed block inlays.
Yeah.
So it's wood inside wood, and then the back is just
that's pretty.
The back is just nude. So
that's pretty looking.
It's a little bit Willy Wonka headstock, which was a kind of a little bit Carl Thompson, and that's his standard headstock, but he tilted it to accommodate for the third tuning, you know, the third tuning key on the one side. So
I love kind of Tim Burton-ish.
A little bit, yeah. So yeah,
that's awesome. It looks like it's super well made.
Yeah, he's a great dude, and I mean, he's building guitars. He just finished a guitar for one of the guitar players in Inner Arma. Mm-hmm. Steve Brooks from Torch. His 2 main guitars, I think, are Jay's guitars. Okay. He built the Bug Llama or whatever it is for Jeff. Yeah. He's definitely.
Send me his info. I want to talk to this person.
Yes, I will, absolutely. And he's definitely he'll do the pointies too. He'll do V's. He does a Doom Bird. He's done like an Iron Bird style baritone. So he'll do the pointy guitars too if that's what you're into.
Some crazy looking like 80s thrash metal looking weird guitars.
Like I've never been able to decide whether to be a guitarist or a bass player. So like I always get either, you know, baritones. I've always wanted like an alto bass, which is basically
a bass 6.
Yeah, which I have a cheap like 6-string bass, like short scale. It's a cheap one, so it stays in tune for shit. But like, I've never been able to decide. Like I once had a 4-string Flying V made. You know, it has guitar machines but bass pickups. You know,
weird.
It's like Flying V body, but a short scale bass neck.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, definitely talk to Jay because he can. I mean, from what I've seen, he can do whatever, and every new instrument that comes out is better looking than the last one.
That's cool, man.
And I mean, for any of you out there, you know, he's reasonable for a fully custom instrument. You pay less for a fully custom guitar from Jay than you. So if you're buying an LP, like a Les Paul style guitar from him, you'll definitely pay less than you pay for a Les Paul custom from Gibson. So
Damn.
I mean, it's like it's worth doing, even if you think, oh god, this is going to be more expensive than I can deal with. It's not.
Right.
I don't know what's happened in guitar building when all these, you know, the big guys went after these like rich hobby guitar players and started building these dumbass, especially like relic guitars that are $8,000 that, you know, have somebody's fake piss on them or you know, whatever stain the guitar had from tobacco, or it's like just buy a good guitar from a good builder and then beat it up yourself.
Yeah, you know, I've always been like a punk guy that took a certain pride in being able to get like a sound out of whatever, like some shitty Strat or whatever. But like now in my old age, I've come to appreciate more like finer things. You know what I mean? Like as one
good
does.
quality,
Finer things.
As one does. You know, like boutique pedals make more sense to me, even though there's some that are still fucking stupid, ridiculous. Like, I've come to appreciate stuff like that more as I've gotten older. I still can't afford a lot of it, but like I do appreciate it. You know, I would not pay $8,000 for a fucking guitar because eventually I'll just drop it or get pissed and throw it. And, you know, it's the cheap sunglasses theory, you know. Yeah,
that crazy pedal market is nuts. Like not the like technology side of it, but there's like trends that happen, and some old pedal that no one cared about once upon a time all of a sudden becomes the thing that everyone wants, like those sound, like the clone or whatever it is. The things are selling for like $4,000 for a pedal that was probably what, 200.
It's like a boost, or it's like an overdrive. It's like not even that big of a thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And so then there's that one, and then every boutique builder and a lot of the bigger builders will try and copy the circuit and sell you a cheaper version. And then so you go on YouTube and there's like a shootout of the $4,000 pedal versus four $200 variants of it.
Subscribe to that channel.
I love that.
That sounds amazing.
I have quite a few Behringer pedals that it's the same chip, same electronics as Boss pedals. Like they figured out a way to bypass the copyright shit. Like I have Behringer pedals that sound better than the Boss pedals.
Yeah, believe it. And
for like $40, you know.
And some of the builders are cool. Like there's a really popular boutique pedal company called Chase Bliss. Yeah, it makes these really neat analog pedals that then are also fully like MIDI controllable. So you get the best of both worlds for these nerdy pedal guys who program their boards like crazy. I don't do it, so they're not really worth it for me, unless the analog pedal sound itself is so good that it's worth having on its own. But they did some collaboration. They released a pedal. They said they were only going to do 1,000 of them. They sold out in like a minute. And then people instantly started putting the pedals on the secondary market for like $1,000, $1,500, and like almost instantly the dude posted and said, "This is crazy. Don't pay $1,000 for one of these pedals. I'm sorry we did 1,000 limited and announced it. If you want one, we're gonna make more."
Nice.
To like put a stop to the bullshit.
And now they're like $200 or something, maybe.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, hopefully hopefully all those speculators are now just stuck with the pedal that they're going to have to, you know, keep or get, you know, the same amount they paid for it from somebody else. So
I like both worlds, man. I like having like expensive ass boutique, like custom made pedals. I have a couple pedals that were made just for me. And I also have like loads and loads of like the cheap Chinese clone versions. And just really depends on your ear and what you want out of it, you know?
So you know what you need to get is, this is so crazy, but the Amazon Basics line launched a line of pedals.
Yeah, I have a few of them.
You have a few of them, and they're
really?
They're like $25.
Yeah,
and there's
dude, I have one of their tremolos. It sounds amazing.
Really?
Yeah, it has an LED that goes in time with the tremolo, and you could, you know, it looks like you could break it by looking at it, but it sounds incredible. It was $17.95.
What?
Oh man!
God, is there anything that they don't make?
Oh, Bezos can't keep his hands off of anything. That asshole.
I hate the thought of him, but I also like that I can get something tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can literally order a tremolo pedal right now. It'll be here tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, hopefully. It's been interesting
groceries.
It's been a holiday season
this week.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all right, so here's this. We'll do a quick thumbs up, thumbs down for this Bandcamp claim shit.
How long
so
are we gonna listen to each one?
We'll see. So they said this is what they posted in times of crisis.
Oh God,
we as listeners tend to gravitate towards two modes of musical escapism: uplifting sounds that remind us of the light at the end of the tunnel, and/or ear-splitting songs tethered to the hellish here and now. I like that. Both camps are equally valid. Still, in a year defined by unprecedented isolation and unrest, the catharsis offered by heavy music felt even more ubiquitous and essential. The chaos wasn't limited to usual suspects like metal, punk, or noise, either. The records featured below offer everything from revolutionary jazz grooves to harrowing electronic breakdowns to ethereal folk harmonies. All of them epitomize the dumpster fire that was 2020 and bid it good riddance. So,
whoa.
All right, so that's
heavy.
So that's like some serious build-up, Bandcamp.
I really liked your voiceover too.
Did I do?
Yeah, it was really good.
I've been working on my radio voice.
Yeah.
in a world.
In a world.
Oh, yeah, I just want that job. All right.
One man.
All right. So the first one is an artist called Diodorian. Diodorian.
Durian? The fruit?
I feel like I'm trying to pronounce character names from Lord of the Rings. All right, let's find
It's like knock off Diodario strings.
There you go. All right, so I don't know what this is. This song is called
It looks dark.
Sun.
Find the sun.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Is that a band or is it just her?
I think it's a solo artist.
She sounds like she's playing is that a guitar or bass?
That's a bass. That's a stand-up bass.
It sounds like she's playing it and singing, like, when like you're playing the same line that
I can see
the same line you're playing.
Yeah. I can see why that's on a heavy. It felt honestly it felt heavy.
Okay, so
it was like there was a weight on my shoulders.
Yeah, Angel, it felt like it was about to be heavy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna skip into it because I want to hear. But here, this intrigues me. Angel Diodorian singing, flutes, guitars, bass, and synthesizers.
So she does it all.
Yeah.
She's got a guy playing drums or somebody playing drums. Or programming.
I don't think she played bass on this track though.
Oh wow.
She played on some of them. She probably plays she's following it really closely. All right, let's scoot ahead in this one a little bit.
Let's see where we're going.
That's unexpected.
Yeah.
It's cool though. Like it's the whole song can build it.
Yeah. I think
so far.
It reminds me of the song on Rabbits, the Broom record.
Oh, the last one.
The last one, yeah.
Yeah.
Like if it's a big build the whole way.
Yeah. She's got a pretty voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give that a heavy, and I actually want to go back.
I like that. I think I'll dig in and listen to that whole album.
Yeah, I want to listen to more of
I will
that.
definitely investigate this more. Where are they from?
She is from New York.
New York City.
Get a rope.
Get a rope.
Remember that shit?
That ain't paste pecani sauce.
Get a rope. They're literally on a commercial talking about lynching. Somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the
For
good old
being
days.
from New York
Because somebody got the wrong hot sauce.
A sauce from New York City, not Texas. Hey, Texas, way to wear it on your sleeve.
Yeah, them liberals. And there's 100% no way that paste pecani sauce is made anywhere near Texas.
No.
Oh no.
No.
What's next? What do we
All
have?
right. The
Dude,
next.
That last thing was awesome.
That was cool.
Find
It
the
was
Sun by-
It was really cool.
But what's the band's name again? Sorry.
Deodorian. I'll send you
out.
links to links to all of this.
Cool.
I already have them written up.
Cool.
All right, so probably gonna see
Look at
some.
Look at that logo.
I feel like we're gonna see some metal here, or hear some metal.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Just a thought.
I don't know.
So this band is called Cryptic Shift. They are from Sweden.
Ooh.
No way.
Can you believe it?
Just kidding.
It's so hard to
I'm
believe.
being an asshole. I'm just judging by the font.
They are
And
on a
then
label.
art.
I don't know. You can actually read the font though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But it's like that, runic looking font, and
Uh,
yeah.
the art.
Yeah.
Already, the art is amazing. Like the guy's buddies left him. He's like, "Wait,
Yeah.
Hey, come on, guys.
Oh wait,
back!
I got the thing.
I
The
got
water's blood."
Oh, all right. So this song is called the Arctic Chasm.
Oh boy.
So
Here we go.
get ready.
It's gonna be heavy.
It had better be.
Oh, we gotta start with some atmospheric weather.
Like 80s metal, like
Fire
sample
crackling.
beginning. Is it fire? It is fire.
That's a church burning, is what that is.
That is. All right. Dude, this is awesome already.
Yeah. Oh, that's rad.
Fuck. Fucking hell. This is great. That is fucking great, dude.
That's
I love
great.
that. I
And
love
it's
that.
Very heavy. And there's
Very
some
heavy.
there was some stunt bass playing there because that's the fifth time we've come across some fretless bass in extreme metal. And that guy's even got the nuts to play chords, which if you've ever played an acoustic bass, a fretless bass before, is like
Chords
high,
on a fretless bass. Yeah.
it's not fun.
You can tell at least a majority of those people have taken lessons or been to school of some kind for music. Like you can just tell by their chord structures and musicianship. And they played the tritone, which is like my favorite thing ever.
Yeah, of course. I think every record should start with the tritone. Okay, no, these guys are actually from Leeds, England. Their label is Swedish.
The label is Swedish.
One of Metal Underground's best kept secrets. Well, hopefully not for long. I can't wait.
I like that band a lot, man.
I can't wait
Very,
to
very
listen
good.
to the rest of that shit.
Yeah, me too. Heavy.
So wait,
heavy,
we didn't
heavy.
give it, did we? Heavy.
I gave it 2.
That's too
Two.
heavy.
2 thumbs up. We got 6 thumbs up.
We give it 1 bicep flex.
Ooh, damn.
Visitations from what was it called? Visitations from Enchiladas? No.
From Enchiladas.
Oh, it just made me hungry. I want an enchilada.
No, I'm hungry. I haven't had dinner yet.
I wish an enchilada would visit me right now.
Enchilada.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Oh, we'll do some tomorrow.
I miss Bay Area Mexican food, by the way.
Oh, really? It's not quite there in
much
Portland?
Different up here. Much different.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine.
As an aside.
Yeah.
All right. So next, Moses Boyd.
Oh,
the album is called Dark. The album is called Dark Matter.
Yeah, the cover looks heavy.
Is it a soloist?
It is. No, I think it's a band.
So dark.
And I don't know much about it, except I know that it fundamentally is jazz, but I think is not only jazz.
Oh,
looks like not only jazz.
So this song that we are going to listen to is "Dancing in the Dark," featuring a guest vocalist.
Isn't that Bruce Springsteen?
Ooh.
The roads are worrying over nonsense. These kids stomping puddles, cutting gaps in family portraits. Move with caution, go fun for coffins. No fun, so young, so much stunt in front, and we lost another car right in front of the corner show. Right in. The world is changing, the rules are not the same. Why my brothers so afraid? Why my brothers full of hate? I look around and I see pain, so much pain, so much pain. Let's stop pretending that everything's okay. All my brothers hate. Big black sheds, we share the bruises that we face. I look around and all I see is pain, so much pain. Look around.
I like this.
Yeah, no,
That's cool.
This is
I
great.
like that a lot, man.
That was
I
really
like
cool.
that. It's crazy. It's like Gil Scott-Heron meets like fucking 50 Cent or something.
Yeah.
For the intro, and then it kicks into like this kind of industrial beat.
Yeah.
Like, the guy's voice, the tone of the voice is
it's
fucking
trip
deep.
hoppy.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, I mean, so far Bandcamp doing a good job.
I think you're doing a good job.
Doing a good job with the heavy.
Awesome.
I feel
Very
like
heavy.
I feel like we have a panel who has a bona fide, responsible and authoritative position on heavy here. At least one
That's
of
heavy.
us.
That's heavy.
Yeah,
And it
heavy.
contains no guitar whatsoever so far.
No,
Heavy
not
doesn't
at all.
always mean loud.
You know, I mean, and obviously I read a little bit, and I think he's like a Jamaican-born Londoner,
Okay.
jazz saxophone player.
Okay.
And thematically, material-wise, it's very similar to like a Zeal and Ardor. Musically,
thematically.
musically
See that,
completely
yeah.
different. But I would love to see, what was that one? The other band from London that was like the hip hop, the black album cover that was so good.
That was Salt.
Salt, yeah, like Salt and this band and Zeal and Ardor on a tour together to like expand people's minds about
that'd be crazy.
about what music can be. Because like even have you listened to Zeal and Ardor very much, Billy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not like extensively, but yeah, I know about it.
But I mean, if you
good shit.
put that in front of an average person who's not even a metal fan,
Right.
I think they would find a way to appreciate it, and especially live. It's intense, and I would love to see that kind of cross pollination so people can see. And I was like, it's what's cool about Psycho. It's like you can see like, oh, I like this thing, but even though it sounds completely different, it's kind of similar to this other thing, using this label of heavy as sort of an overall way to explore what music is about. It's kind of
that was cool though, man. I've never heard,
cool.
but that's very unique. Like I've never heard anything like that.
Mm-mm.
You know, you can tell maybe some of the influences, but maybe not. Like I mentioned a couple things that were obviously like for humor, but like I could hear maybe a Gil Scott-Heron influence, but also like deep jazz, and also hip hop. But it sounds like none of those.
Yeah, no.
You know, it's hard to pigeonhole that. Really cool.
This looks like we're about to have the third one from London.
Yeah, this is the last one.
They write heavy music because they never see the sun.
No, seriously. So this is Oliver Coates. Oh, look at that. Look at that inverse black work.
Interesting shirt.
Like,
Sick tribal.
Sick tribal.
Sick with a Nike swoosh.
Who does your white work?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the way to do tribal now, is to just get
inverse.
Just inverse and on a shirt. He's the artist, Oliver Coates. If you're just listening,
That's actually a tattoo. It's not a shirt.
It's not a shirt.
It's really effective because it makes him look like a skinny guy inside of a big sweatshirt.
But she's not wearing Oliver Coates.
Oh. All right. So Oliver Coates. So this is like sold out. People seem to like this. We're going to listen to a song called Budo Baby.
Budo Baby. Like Budo's band.
He's a cello player.
I was having a hard time telling if those are real strings or synth strings, because a lot of it sounds kind of synthy, but
They are no, those are
Probably
real
not.
strings.
wow.
Is
But
it-
he's running through some, obviously some non analog stuff.
Viscous.
Yeah, it's
Synthetic modulation.
is a Caliginius. What the fuck is that word? I don't trip over words that often, but that one's some PR person's gonna have to answer for that one. Anatomy concealed by a drone metal membrane, feeding upon mechanized strand distortions and thriving amidst its harmonic waste. That's some word salad,
Wow.
buddy.
Yeah.
So
It
he's a
sounds
cello-
cool. It sounds like a cool thing. A composer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's a composer, and this is exploring the dark side of his compositional sensibilities.
Well, and it's that droning in the background that gives it that heavy feel.
The titles are like go down a little bit.
Yeah.
It looks like maybe the darkness comes from
Caregiver.
like maybe his grandma died or something. I don't know. That sounds
Yeah.
dark.
I'm not going to give that a heavy exactly. It was
It's
I don't know.
dark.
It was dark.
Dark.
Yeah, it was
Very
dark
dark.
for sure. But I liked
Interesting
it.
sounding. Like I wouldn't put it on like to like scrutinize. I would put it on like I'm doing something around the house or something.
Yeah.
It's good music.
100%.
Very orchestral.
Oh, yeah. Talented.
I just think it's cool that they like of all the there's a bunch of writers there, and they probably have editorial meetings, and they're like, hey, what should we year end's coming, what are we gonna write about? And someone was like, this year fucking sucked.
Yeah.
Man. Like what music did we hear that like best exemplifies how shitty this year was? Go for it. So
That's pretty much it.
one of the other selections on the list was an artist that we actually listened to in an earlier show called Angemile that I would totally agree, even though it's like chewy candy acoustic folk pop. It was that record's heavy as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
It's like dark. So
Yeah. Heavy isn't like I've said this before, but heavy isn't always volume or like power chords or like sub bass. It's content and vibe. Like some I've been asked like what's the heaviest shit you've ever recorded, and sometimes I have to say like Red House Painters. Some of that shit's
Yeah.
so heavy that it's like concrete, but it's an acoustic guitar and a vocal.
Nice.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
so you might know about this band, but when we interviewed Christian, he talked about his favorite band from Atlanta, and they were called Smoke.
That was just Smoke.
And it's just like, it's like Tom Waitsy acoustic, like dark acoustic folk,
super dark.
and they were junkies in the depths of being junkies, and it is fucking heavy.
Oh
That's
yeah.
dark. That's dark.
So if anyone wants to hear an example of what we're talking about, how to make something that has all the elements of heavy that is not in fact heavy at all. This is a band. So there's a band called Astronoid that's like classified as thrash, elements of thrash and death metal and black metal.
Didn't we see them open for Zeal and Ardor?
They opened for Zeal and Ardor. Yeah, they opened for Zeal and Ardor. I'll share this with you so you can see it, and then we can listen to it and you can explain why it is or isn't heavy.
Okay.
Okay. That's too funny. All right.
Great name, Astronoid.
It's a really good name. All right, Astronoid. This song is called Air.
So good. Like,
Right?
It's like major. It's like, okay, don't take this wrong, Astronoid. It reminds me of those like Disney versions of the Slayer songs that you.
Yeah,
Have you seen
100%.
It's like it's got all the elements of like metal and like thrash, but it's all major.
All major key. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it is. And
It's fucking awesome.
And the
It's like
and the singer does the
adorable.
whole. Yeah, the singer does the whole set singing with a harmony generator with the same 3-part major harmony. So his vocal, the same throughout the whole thing. And
That's a dude.
Yeah, it's a dude.
wow.
When it first started, I was like, that was really cool. But since he never varies the tones in the harmony, it like 5 minutes in, it was like listening to another instrument, or almost like a computer generated vocal and not actual singing. But it was really cool. It was like
isn't quite there yet with those pedals.
Yeah,
They can't do moving like shifting harmony.
Yeah, it's like they pop punkified like thrash.
Yeah, it's like thrash for like Disney. I mean, not in a bad way. I'm saying it's like interesting as fuck. It's like not what you'd expect.
So it has so many of the elements of heavy, right?
Yeah.
It's like serious double bass and the picking style and the riff structures and everything.
Yeah.
They just did it all in a different key. So
yeah, it's I don't know whether to call that heavy or not. I mean, it sounds heavy.
Yeah.
But the major key thing, it sounds so happy to be heavy.
And then the vocals
It's
too,
like
right?
too optimistic a little bit. Yeah.
Too optimistic.
Yeah, it's like they could be singing about, getting knife raped in the throat, but it doesn't sound that way, you know what I mean?
It's not heavy metal, it's happy metal.
It's happy metal.
Yeah.
Shiny happy metal.
It's hard to call that heavy, but it is.
Yeah.
I'm confounded.
Your brain is
We're broken. I didn't even intend.
Yeah.
I didn't even intend to play that. I just thought of it from the discussion. All right,
I
so
like being confounded like that. Like,
Yeah.
Unexpected shit is cool.
Oh,
it's
100%.
from being jaded, but like that was interesting stuff. I want to hear more.
yeah, I'll send you them too. So I just have we have a couple last questions to wrap up, and then we'll let you go as we've already kept you for a long time. But
That's another one.
People will be happy to hear what you have to say. Drop a lot of good information and a lot of good puns too. So here's a question that I thought of. Do you ever go back to old stuff that either you played on or you just recorded and listened to it? Do you consume your own projects as like day-to-day listening ever?
Not really.
No.
I refer to them sometimes, but generally speaking, it's kind of difficult, man. It's kind of like you progress over time. you know, like you get better, and it's like sometimes hard to listen to stuff from when you weren't as good as you are now, you know, like just because it's embarrassing to the ear. You know what I mean? Like it is what it was at that time. And I'm proud of a lot of shit I've done, but I've also, you know, if you're not getting better, you're not doing it right. So like, it's just sometimes difficult, but I also, there's a time thing. Like I don't have enough time in the day to like listen to everything I'm working on and listen to other stuff, you know?
Well,
like I have to make time to listen to like new stuff, but I don't have enough RAM to be able to like work on mixes for like 10 or 12 hours and then listen to
music
stuff, especially my own stuff, because I heard it.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Well, and like making the record with you and making records in general, you just get ear fatigue. You get burned. You just get burned out. And I couldn't imagine listening to anything else after spending a good long time listening. But then also you just burn out listening to the same thing over and over.
Like on a day-to-day basis, it would be hard. You know, it's hard to like do like a 15-hour day in the studio and then get in a van and somebody puts on like Masters of Reality and full volume. It's like, turn that shit off. I don't want to hear anything, man. You know? But like on a zoom out kind of thing, like when your record dropped, I listened to it a couple times, you know, after having some months apart from it or whatever. And you know, I may not listen to it again for 5 years, you know. Being in the band, different story. You have to listen to it when you're, you know,
we have to play it. I don't listen to it.
You have to play it.
I almost never listen. Oh, actually, you know, when I listen to it, when I have to relearn a song. I was gonna say that. Like, shit, how do I play that one?
Like a lot of the high tone stuff that we've been doing was written on the spot, or you know, a little bit in the studio or whatever. We did that live thing recently, and I had to like go back and listen to the recordings. I'm like, this is pretty good.
Yeah,
but wouldn't necessarily just put it on for listening. You know, once I've heard because you know as well as I do, like you're listening to like the rough mixes on a burned CD or a download or whatever. It sounds way different than when you're sitting there holding the album artwork. It sounds different.
So different.
Same exact recording, but like it sounds different when you're holding the finished artwork.
And so different from when you're standing in front of the studio monitors.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
A mix that you comp together in a minute after we step out of the room. Honestly, some of my favorite memories of the sound of that record are listening to the studio monitors playback, like right after we walked out of recording something.
Yep.
I don't know.
Sometimes too accurate, but you know, it's a different picture than your car stereo or your headphones, your earbuds or whatever.
Well, and there's more than just the listen involved in it. It's like you just went in and like created something. Yeah. And you have these like I at least have these twin experiences of the relief that I like we got through it and that it's down and recorded and so it's there and you can't take it away anymore. And the excitement. Yeah, and like the excitement of, oh my God, that sounds like roughly, even in this stage, like what the song that we made. Yeah. And that's incredible because when you're writing songs in a studio and recording on a stereo mic on a Zoom so that you can listen to practice playbacks, you get in your head that that's what they sound like recorded. And then you hear them come out of those studio monitors and you're like, oh shit. Yeah.
And a lot of people, it's dangerous sometimes because a lot of people get attached to the demo they made or the Zoom thing and they don't like how it sounds in the studio because they're so attached to the way the Zoom thing sounded or whatever.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That happens quite a bit, you know, they're so attached to the way because they've been listening to it daily, repeated just over and over again in their car stereo that might not be, you know, stereo or, you know, or they're a skewed non-stereo setup where like there's a speaker on the bookshelf and a speaker being used as a coffee table. And like you get so used to that it sounds weird to them actually recorded in a studio, you know, in symmetrical stereo and, you know, properly, but like
and even that, like if you've never recorded a record before, and one of the jobs you have is you record and then whoever's mixing goes in and mixes and probably adds some, you know, Billy added a bunch of stuff underneath and, you know, some atmospheric stuff. And then you have to go back and listen to it a bunch of times and go, all right, how does the level sound? Do I want to change anything? How's the stuff that he added? And you have to do it. I did it on over the ear headphones. I did it with earbuds. I did it on a
in your car,
on a Bluetooth speaker. I did it in the car. Best way. Like on purpose.
An average.
Exactly. Before I go like, oh God, this is just way too loud here. And then you go and stick it on some other speaker and you're like, no, it's not. It's fine. How is everyone else going to listen to it?
Yeah. That was one thing I liked about working with you guys is that like you were open to ideas. And so, not every band's like, every project's different for me. Like I have a certain amount of input on each project and, sometimes I have very little input, and you guys were open to ideas, and I tried a bunch of shit, not knowing if you guys would dig it, and some of it got not used, and some of it did. But like, it was fun. It was fun collaborating like that.
Yeah, it was really fun, and then some of those things then get reincorporated then back into the live versions of the songs. So the songs went into the studio one way, they got recorded and mixed, and then they came out, and then we had to adapt. The live show to what the record was, not because I needed them to match, but because it was cool stuff that I really liked, and it added a lot of texture.
I've worked with bands that added a guitar player after being in the studio.
I can see that. I can see that happening for sure.
Because a lot of bands are super attached to being able to pull off live what you record. I don't feel strongly about that correlation. Like I feel they're two different worlds. I don't feel like you are required by law to like pull off live what you record because it's just two different things.
Yeah, it is.
But, like as long as you know what song it is, like it's a live version of that song. But a lot of bands feel very strongly about that.
Yeah, and go to great lengths.
They add an extra member,
Yeah, or they record a bunch of stuff and they play live to a click, and they add in. I mean, we watched bands play where there's one guy playing guitar on stage and then there's 3 guitars coming out of the PA, and you're like, well, hey, that's not fair.
But it's also probably how they pull off the live version of it. Like you talked of Amy, you're the Cobra earlier. Like when we recorded, we did a lot of doubling and overdubs and a little harmony here and there, and she ended up pulling it off through talking about it with myself and John, like a pedal and like a cabinet that was across the stage. And so she would like turn on a certain harmony thing at a certain time, and we're able to make a representation of what we did in the studio without having to go too far.
That's exactly what we did. Like you did a lot of stuff that wasn't necessarily time based and was real textural, and you sent me all those files, and I loaded them onto a pedal that can trigger samples, and
there you go.
Run that into the PA, and I can get some of the same feelings, like the swampy stuff in the middle of Chased by Monsters. It's just kind of running underneath. I just hit that. It's not exactly time based. We're so loud, but it does add that same level of atmosphere.
And nobody's going to walk away from the show going, oh man, it didn't sound like the album. It's like nobody's going to bitch about it.
Yeah.
If you want to hear that album, stay at home and listen to it. If you want to see a live show, it's a different thing,
Well, and the problem for me,
last time you heard like, oh, it sounded just like the album. Like,
anyone who says that, I generally don't like them or their taste in music.
Yeah, because it's not a show; it's a concert.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
thanks.
The concert sounded just like the album. It's like, when's the last time you heard that?
You have to go see shows at venues larger than 1,000 people for that even to be an issue, and I generally avoid that. So,
when possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So last question. So what is your hometown? And I know the answer to this already. And what's your all-time, or what is some of your favorite musical artists that come from your town?
Oh, well, I grew up in 29 Palms, California. And there's nobody from there.
Can we expand it and say the desert, the California desert?
The Mojave Desert of Southern California. Closer to Mexico than it is to Los Angeles, or equidistant at the least. There's really nobody from 29 Palms. There was until recently a band called Atala that's from there.
We played with them.
Generally speaking, a good band, but like, and myself. But I tried playing in bands when I lived there. I left the day of graduation from high school. I mean, there's really nothing there.
All right, where did you go? So when you were in the Bay Area?
Oh yeah, Bay Area.
Okay, when you're in the Bay Area, like
Yes.
the period of time you spent living in the Bay Area,
man.
what are some of your favorites? We talked about Grotus.
Grotus, Steel Pole Bathtub.
Oh yeah.
Still like one of my favorite bands ever. Like
So good.
a huge influence on me musically and attitude wise. Like Mike Moraski taught me a lot. You know, he ended up being one of the software engineers for like The Matrix and like Lord of the Rings, and
Oh wow.
became
cool.
a very, very wealthy person. But he started, you know, in Steel Pole Bathtub, and he's like a kind of a hero of mine. He studied music when he was, you know, a child and all through high school and stuff. And but he played, the way he played guitar was just like, fuck you. You know, it was like feedback and like dissonance and just all over the place. And I remember him saying, like, sometimes you have to know theory to know what not to do, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I love that band so much. One of my heaviest influences ever. Melvins, of course.
Yeah, well, and speaking of loving dissonance and stuff, you and I have talked about already, and I've talked on the podcast about that Melvins Bungle Show of Legend in Long Beach or wherever it was, where everything fell apart and Bungle walked off stage after 30 minutes of nonsense.
Yeah, they as a trip, because the Melvins got booed.
Yeah.
Because they came out and played, I think, like Charma Karma Cat or something like ridiculous. In front of that audience that, you know, came to see Faith No More.
Faith
basically.
No More, exactly. Except for me, I was there to see whatever the fuck was about to go down.
As a sort of tip of the cap to the Melvins, Bungle came out and did High School, that song Everyone I Went to High School With Is Dead, for like 30 minutes, just feeding back, just as like a fuck you, you know, like just ridiculous. A legendary show.
Yeah, it was
So funny.
It was. It's funny that we were both there, and then I meet you 30 years later. 30 years later.
I have that on DAT tape. Did I give that to you? I think I
No,
did.
you keep threatening to give it to me, but
I
I definitely want to hear it.
I have to find not only the tape but a DAT machine,
Yeah, right.
which I have one of somewhere.
You probably have one, I would imagine. Yeah, that's what we were. That's my high school. The band I was in high school. We recorded straight to DAT, baby. When
Dude,
a guy backed a van up to the house and ran a snake into the living room. And then engineered
The recording van.
The mobile unit.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was how you mixed down for a while. It was digital, you know, so it was like there weren't any. It was like a note for note, like byte for bit representation of what you recorded. That was the way we mixed for like, you know, a long time, like 6-7 years maybe.
Yeah,
That's funny. Our first was in the Osmonds studio.
Oh, really?
On a reel-to-reel. The Osmonds had a fucking awesome studio.
I'm sure
Dude,
they did.
It would be stupid if they didn't, right?
Yeah, right.
They were like the Jackson 5 of white people.
Yeah, seriously.
I didn't even think about the fact that you were in Salt Lake, and and where would you go record?
The Osmonds.
Oh, that's fucking great.
That was the one place, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Dude, that's legendary.
Did they have did they like want to check your lyrics? And
So it was this. I mean, it was crazy because the guy that ran their studio, that was the recording engineer there, was this. I mean, he was a total just cokehead that lost track of time. We went in off hours. It was like it had to be after hours because it was for like a local compilation, but they donated the studio time, and this guy was going to come record everybody. Never showed up. We're sitting in the studio. We're waiting for him. It is a whiteout snowstorm. We can't go anywhere. So we're locked in the Osmond studio. This guy finally shows up, sets everything up, records, I think, the drums and the bass, and then leaves. Disappears. Never comes back.
Oh, no.
And so we were in there, and I wish somebody would have known how to better use all of the equipment, because we recorded the entire album. We were supposed to do one track. We're like, let's do them all.
Dude,
oh, shit.
There's
that's how I
nobody
became
here.
an engineer. You know that, right? That's how I became an engineer.
Really? No.
Really?
I want to hear.
My band, in, like just out of high school, we wanted to record. We went to the city college shithole studio in the desert, and the guy that was the old engineer, I mean, he was probably like 40 or something. Like he seemed old to me at the time. I was 17.
Yeah, so old.
He hated he was against like punk rock and like had mohawks and shit, and he basically bailed out. He's like, I don't like this. I fucking I don't think you guys should be recorded. I'm just like, show me how to hit record, you know? And that's how I learned how to engineer, just trial by fire. Like in your situation, like nobody there to do it, you got to figure out how to do it, and you ended up recording. That's how I started, and then I got a 4-track, and it was on from there. But like, it was basically the hatred of, or in your case, the drug addiction.
The drug addicted guy that disappeared.
Coke doesn't last for very long. You have to keep getting it. You know.
We had to sleep in the studio. We couldn't leave. It was a whiteout snowstorm. Roads were closed. We slept in the Osmond studio overnight.
It was a whiteout snowstorm for your engineer too, just in a different.
A different kind.
Ironically, in the Osmond studio.
Right. I do love.
We wouldn't even know what cocaine was.
That little twist. Or what if they did? What if they did? That'd be the.
What if they were all just fucking raging coke heads?
Oh man,
that'd be
it's
awesome.
funny. That's such a common story though. Like we were interviewing Nick from Armed for Apocalypse, Nick Harris, and he was upstairs at God City Studios because they just finished tracking a record. And when you go back and see what Kurt has to say about why he got started, it was just like no one was going to help us. So if we wanted to be a band, we had to figure out how to do it ourselves. And that like same story, ingenuity.
It's not an uncommon story.
Not at all. You know, when you're bringing this music to people that is like on the face, not as easy to consume as other types of music. It's like people are less inclined to help you out in the mainstream music world.
Like
I'm
thankful for it. Like the hatred at the time was a little bit, you know, I was a punk growing up, and it's like I got, you know, kicked out of or expelled from school for wearing like some weird political punk shirt, you know, like I was used to it, but this guy was just like an asshole, you know. He's like, I don't think you guys should be recording because it's not music, you know, like that kind of thing. Like, that just, of course, just fueled me on to like figure it out, you know. Like, if that asshole could do it, I could do it. You know?
Well, I think the treatment of the Dope Smoker record by the label is sort of a great allegory for everything that people in heavy music face, from everything past what you write and do in the practice room is just going to be faced with like, like, what the fuck is this? And this isn't what we wanted, or this isn't what we thought we were getting. There's just,
although, to be honest, to be real, like they knew what they were getting. Like, they didn't sign to sleep thinking they were getting a 5-minute pop hit. They knew what Dope Smoker was about. But the thing that happened was that halfway through making that record, like that label got bought and everybody got fired.
Regime change. That'll do it.
/ London merger happened. And everybody that was working that record got shit canned, and like then it was all new people that didn't get it. So they knew exactly what they were getting themselves into when they signed.
Interesting. That happens throughout entertainment. Like I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, and all these guys talk about pitching shows, and like, oh yeah, you know, whatever, Comedy Central or Netflix bought a show, and then they get a call a week later, like, yeah, management changed, there's new people there, and so the show I sold already is now not sold anymore.
They don't think you're funny.
That's the Dope Smoker story in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's the crazy mixing of art and commerce what's cool is how much we've all put ourselves in a position to eliminate those gatekeepers from the process. Just to donate. It's from our practice studio to your studio to Bandcamp with no assholes in the way.
Dangling a giant carrot in front of your face, you know, saying you can get this much money, or, you know, you can tour forever. You know, when you're young, you tend to gravitate towards that. Like that's what happened to Sleep. They were young and they signed kind of a dumb deal, to be honest. And with Earache, and then they had to get out of that by signing to London, because London was the only one that had enough money to buy the stupid Earache contract. And they did it, and you know, it ended up being a fucking just melee. But like that's what happened basically with that. It's like London knew exactly what they were getting into. It was like a 60-something minute song, but then when the shift change came, none of the new people would like. They were like, "What the fuck is this?"
They're like, "What?"
The new manager at the Waffle House wasn't interested in that.
Like the A&R guy that got assigned to sleep after the merger or whatever was like this kid. I mean, he was probably about our age or maybe a little younger, but he was like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, why is this part longer than a song? You know?
What's a song?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is good though, because I think the aftermath of all of that and really that experience wasn't singular. Just like, I think metal has constantly forced everyone to rethink what music, you know, what a song is, what an album is, what music is, you know, that's the role. It changes. Yeah. It changes a lot over time. And I think as long as it keeps doing that, it'll stay kind of vital in these smaller, more niche circles, but still vital. It's when it gets complacent that it blows up and then sucks.
Yeah. There's been periods of time, you know, in history where that happens, but there's always been a cool underground, and, you know, there will always be people that are passionate about music. And I think it's just a human tendency to make music. And it's also a human tendency to rebel against what the norm is.
Yep.
And so there's 100%. Always going to be really good music.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I think that's a pretty good thought to end on. It's been fantastic to see you. Haven't seen you since September of last year when High Tone was out here. It's cool that you guys added Jake on guitar. That was a fun little surprise.
Yeah.
After meeting at that show, he's such a great dude.
He's like an aw shucks guy. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
Nicest, like he hasn't been through a tenth of the shit anybody else in the band's been through, you know, life-wise. And we like that. Like, Jake's an amazing guy. He's like a nice kid.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, it's good to balance the sort of the cynicism and just you know, the roughness of all
jaded
of you.
Old man vibe.
Of all of you guys. I mean, I spent a lot of time talking to Paul too, and he's you know, Paul's is still as mad at the world as he was when he was 17, but a lot more disillusioned about
but he's also hyper intelligent, which is, you know, also a scary thing.
Yeah.
But Jake's just like, he'll just like smile and be cool, and
like he's wide-eyed about the world still. And he's not jaded and hasn't, you know, witnessed a bunch of his friends dying yet, and like, you know what I mean? Like, we like that. Well, I hate to say hopefully it doesn't happen, but like, you know, everybody from him has been through like some pretty horrendous shit, and like he hasn't, and I don't know, it's a cool perspective.
Yeah.
You know, and he's also a really good musician.
Yeah, and to remember that for every one of you, there's a Jake out there smiling his way through the world, and just like, fuck, man.
I like that everybody's not a curmudgeonly, jaded, you know, hardened criminal of some kind.
Yep.
You know?
Awesome. All right. Well, I will send you links so that you don't have to worry about trying to remember any of this shit, so that you can go back and listen to some of the stuff that you like.
Yes.
Appreciate you being here and dropping wisdom and everything else. It's good to talk to Billy.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Billy is heavy. All right. Have a great rest of your night there.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Billy. Got stories for days. You know, Billy, like last week, like John, I think is a guy that we could go for 6 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours. And he wouldn't run out of. I mean, we didn't even get into.
I doubt it.
I didn't, because I think he probably spends a lot of time getting hammered about. Oh, tell me about recording Dope Smoker, or tell me about recording Mr. Bungle record, or
of course,
you know, there's like stories that people know about, and I definitely didn't want to bug him about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But
he's probably done so many interviews talking about that. If you want to find that stuff, Google it.
Yeah.
If you want to get to the heart of who that person is, listen to this podcast.
So I'll tell one more quick story about Billy to sort of hammer home his professional name, and if you want to go to his website, is Engineer, like engineer, but 2 words, engine, and then ear, like your ears. Yeah. Billy has incredible ears, and
they look good.
They're beautiful.
They're beautiful ears.
But maybe you're born with it, and maybe it's from
Maybelline.
14-hour, you know, 7 day a week, 14-hour days, listening to music, looking at a spectral analyzer to see all the frequencies, and maybe he was born with a perfect ear. I don't know, but he posted on Facebook last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, that he was at the airport, and there was just randomly there was a guy tuning a piano, and he hit a note, and Billy knew exactly what note it was as he walked by. And he walked by and he turned around after the guy hit the note, and he goes, "I think you're still about 4 cents sharp." Cents are the degrees in between notes in a frequency. It's like the unit of measurement in between frequencies. And he just walked off. And then like 10 seconds later, the tuner's like, 4 cents. I was 4 cents off. He like yelled at him down the hallway. Like, so where most of us are bumbling around going, "Oh, that's a song," or "Oh, I like that melody," or "Oh, that melody, he's singing it in tune," or "He's not singing it in tune." He's like, "That middle A is 4 cents sharp." 4 cents sharp. It was like, and especially considering he doesn't need that ear to produce the kind of music that he produces.
Yeah.
This,
but
like,
it helps, I'm sure.
Oh, I absolutely, I absolutely believe it helps. But yeah, man, you just see him working in a studio and like his natural environment, and he just clicks, and it's just like,
boom.
He just like turns into a music producing creature. Then you just like step back and let him go. Like Carl was done recording parts, and he was sitting on a couch and in front of the console playing an acoustic guitar, just strumming, and Billy's like, "Shut up," because he's like in a mode, and is listening, he's using his ears, and so that competing noise was just like nearly drove him.
Oh yeah, I
mad.
can imagine.
So
I can imagine.
Awesome. Well, that was a lot of fun.
Good stuff. We got another 3-hour episode.
And coming up next, I think next-ish in our loosely pulled together series of talking to great producers in music. It looks like we're going to interview pretty shortly here Andy Patterson, who is another producer who has some credits like Billy's, trying to bring different ears and perspectives and personalities into the podcast. As you see, we go through the same process of playing and listening to songs, and depending on the experience and understanding of the guest, it's like kind of goes in different directions.
Oh, completely. Yeah, completely. Yeah. It'll be fun to have, get some more producers on there, or just to get producers that have that ear. Yeah, that have that ear. But, also Billy played bass in the Melvins. I'm pretty sure there's a picture of the Melvins playing a show in a hotel room in New York City. Billy's playing bass, and I think Kurt Cobain's in the room. Oh, wow. It's like some A&R. It was like some, showcase thing where there's a bunch of industry people together. So, I mean, he has lived a life and brushed up against some of the greatest heavy music in the world, and he's just a humble dude. If you're in a band and you want to record with Billy, reach out, because it's probably more reasonable than you think. It's probably if you have any budget at all to make a record, you might be able to make a record with Billy. Yeah. So don't rule it out, because he's the guy who recorded all of these legendary albums. He's still devoted to making his work accessible to the underground, to DIY bands. Well, that's where he started, right? Yep. And stay true. And all you have to do is write music that he likes or doesn't hate. Yeah. And for any of the bands that submitted Blynd Submyshynz, you're welcome. Yeah. You just got feedback from Billy Anderson for free. You should take it. Yeah. Definitely take it. Awesome. Well, that was a long but beautiful episode, but I think it's time to wrap up another episode of... When is this going to come out? We're in January This episode should come out on January 4th. January 4th. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. So next Monday will be. Oh no, I'm gonna get in. Armand's Monday. I'm gonna get in a time tunnel though, because this won't come out until January, and then I'm saying next Monday is no, it's not. No. Last Monday was Armand. Right. It was? No, it wasn't. When this comes out, it will be. When we record it. We're in an infinite time loop. The past is the present. The future is the past. Yes. And we are not that smart. No. All right. Well, we'll keep track of it. We know good enough now that it's always Monday. The show is always Monday. So far. We just need to figure out which one. Only fucked it up once. Yeah. All right.
Well, everybody, thanks again for joining another episode of Blynd Submyshynz. We out.
No. Thanks for joining us for another week of Blynd Submyshynz. See episode description for links to all artists discussed in this episode, and visit their sites to support them directly by buying music and merch. Share links to the podcast or YouTube videos with your friends, especially if they're in bands. Bands, if you want us to listen to your music on a future episode, please submit one song to blyndsub@gmail.com. That is blyndsub, BLYNDSUB @gmail.com. Bandcamp links preferred, but not required. Find us on social media at Blynd Submyshynz. Full video episodes are available on our YouTube. Remember, we go in blind, so you don't have to. Blynd Submyshynz.